What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Thursday night Eat Man takeover on the Arano Network. Eat Man will be here momentarily. Until then, I'm gonna make sure we acknowledge the sponsor of the last show, and it was none other. I mean, come on, y'all know J Hub is always sponsored every show in the YouTube streets. So shout out to my guy J Hub. We appreciate you over here, always supporting, always holding it down. A nice blend of sanity and insanity. Okay, that's what we expect over here on Aaron O Show. So shout out to J Hub. We appreciate you, fam. Today, what we gonna get into, I can't promise y'all nothing because I don't know. I'm not even sure. My man just hit me. He said, "Bro, it's going down Thursday night. You ready?" I said, "No, but I get ready." And so that's what we're doing. That's what we hear. So everybody, please make sure y'all give a warm welcome to your host, the infamous, the notorious Eat Man Williams. What's going on, brother? How you doing? How you doing? We're gonna make sure we get your audio checked and everything. Make sure you're coming through clearly, because sometimes you be having audio issues. You Southerners, when y'all move on up to the west side, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, we can't hear you. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. There we go. You gotta listen. That $1,500, $2,000 mic you got to press the on button.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. I didn't know that. See, I was just so worried about getting the water that I forgot about the mic.
Hey, don't start no show without. Wait. You drinking extra cold water?
Extra cold, man.
That's why your blood flow is slowing down. You need slightly cold water, but room temperature to cold. Okay, I'm an expert at this type of water that go through the system.
I love having it. And B Rose is 100% right. I'm rocking an extra ball tonight. I tell people this right here. Some of y'all need to start over, so we're gonna teach y'all how to start over tonight in this business world.
Hey, my time coming soon. I'll be ready to cut it off like MJ soon anyway. Embrace it or go down, try fighting.
So it's actually was growing back nicely, but I don't know, this time of year I kind of like the ball head, so I think I look good with a ball head too. B Rose, you like this ball head? Look sexy with the ball head. So B Rose like
it. Don't flirt with B Rose in the chat. She'll pull up on you. Pull up on me. Pull up on me.
How was your week, brother?
It's been flying by. It's been pretty busy. So I just been enjoying it best I can. I did a show, and pretty much yesterday I wasn't planning to do so. A lot of people didn't know because it was short term, only a few hours, because I'm not going to be able to do my regularly scheduled show on the weekend because I got some business I got to attend to. Unfortunately, which Saturdays are my favorite show. So I put the most work into my Saturday shows, but it is what it is.
So yeah, 100%, man. I was looking forward to having this because I know that even though you say that you live in the hood and you broke, I do think that you interact with people who got some money on a daily basis every now and then. So I definitely was looking forward to having this conversation with you.
I talk to some people that got some money, and sometimes I panhandle. I ain't ashamed to say. Mm-hmm. I don't have the insert that Team Fatty got when the guy's shaking the little can. But hey, listen, sometimes you gotta just beg. I'm not too proud to beg. I'm just gonna tell you that now. I'm not too proud to beg. Okay, so it is what
that makes sense. So so I want to talk about it at first. First of all, I know a lot of people might ask, what do Eat Man Williams know about business? And I don't know if you got cable TV, but you might have saw me on cable TV. I'm gonna pull this picture up real quick. This is the Judge Allen show. I was actually suing somebody. I was actually 18 when this happened. So I'd have been to court. I'd have been to regular court. I'd have been on TV court. I kind of know a little bit about business based on what happened. So this is actually funny because what I have learned is a lot of business owners think that they can kind of manipulate people. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can. Is that better? Nope, that's horrible. All right. This is why I let you do all that stuff.
Yeah, that is why you let me do it. You know what I'm saying?
We're gonna do it about right here.
Yeah.
All right.
There we go.
So cool. So I don't know. Have you ever watched the Judge Alex show before?
What's the judge's last name?
Alex.
Alex.
I don't think he's on TV no more. White guy.
Nah, no, it's where he located at.
It was in LA. His actual
he in California?
He's in California.
Dang, I was probably running the streets. Got put out my mama's house at the time. She didn't take me back in around this time, so I wasn't watching a lot of TV back then. So
yeah. So with the Judge Alex, so let me see if I can blow it up real quick so you can see it. Can you see that better?
Man, look at that hairline looking like you just walked out the barber shop. Stop playing with him. Stop playing with him.
So what people don't know about these like TV shows, right? So if you file a case in your local town, TV hosts, producers call and say, hey, we would like to take on your case. Obviously, it's beneficial for both people to be able to be on TV. But that was my first experience with business. I had a lady who had a facility, long story short, and I was like hosting the parties, throwing parties, going into the club ownership at that time. And I rented her facility, and she thought she had Bobo the food. So she let me promote for this event, pass out. Then when I got there, she said she was not going to let me into the facilities, and she was going to take all of my people that came for her own club. That's what she thought was going to happen. So we had a written contract, and she was like, nah. She was like, you can't get here. So, you know me, a lot of black folks, what a lot of black folks want to do is they want to shut it down. They want to shoot up the place. I said, nah, I'm going to take care of this in small claim court. I took it to small claims court. A producer from the Judge Alex show called me and said, hey, are you interested in flying out to LA? We want to actually take your case on. So they incentivize her to go because nobody want to go on court to be sued. So they tell her if she lose, how court TV work is they typically pay your debt for you. So, but it is a real court, real situation. So that's what happened. We went down there. They flew us out to LA. So I guess I was getting flown out. Aaron, I was getting flown out.
Flew out. You lucky JJ Carver ain't here because he can't stand that. He can't stand when we say that. So luckily he ain't here because he booted us both off the panel. Yeah, man. So it looks like you've been bag chasing a long time.
Yeah, I've been dealing with contracts a long time. It's a lot of people don't understand that in business. I think it's just a bad idea for people just to have this mutual agreement type thing.
You mean verbally?
Verbal agreement. I think verbal agreement is it's just a bad concept. Typically, people don't hold their word. Truthfully and honestly, I think the first thing I would say in business is put it on paper. Put it on paper, especially if it costs you anything. So say, for example, if me and you was going into partnership and it didn't cost me anything, maybe just cost me my time, maybe I would look at doing a verbal agreement. But anytime money is involved, I think you kind of need a paper trail because people are famous at getting to court and saying, I ain't say that, or you heard that wrong.
Yeah, because verbal agreements can be held up in court. You just have to make sure you have the evidence to support it. So I talk to a lot of lawyers and they like, receipt, please. They like receipts for everything. They want receipts for this, receipt for that. They want receipts for everything. So don't matter what type of lawyer that they are. And I learned in that trade, receipts be everything. So I'm like a sponge. I just learn everything I can, find out where I can benefit from that and run with it. So I'm going to take the game.
I think that's a red flag. If you asking a person, hey, can we put this down on paper? And if they like fighting that, like, nah, man, my word just good enough. Typically, if a person hold their word, they have no problem making it legal, putting it on paper, right? Like even if you're smart enough, you can put certain clauses in there to be able to give you outs. We see that in real estate all the time. Like say they have a whole bunch of different clauses in there. So if I show up and that is not what I thought it was, I have the right to cancel this contract. So the first thing I tell people is this right here is put it on paper. because it's a lot easier to prove something that's on paper versus trying to prove what somebody said at 9 o'clock and you don't know if they was drunk. And when I had 2 shots that night, you just didn't know that I was under the influence. It's just so much different things that makes it complex when it comes down to not having it on paper.
Yeah, I might have to look more into this contract reading and get more expertise in contractual agreements and things like that, because there go JJ. There go JJ. Speak of the devil. But yeah,
you
so
talk JJ up.
hey, listen, I'm telling you, I knew he wasn't here because he would have went off after used that language on his favorite channel. So no, I think that's really, really good that you have a background in reading a lot of contracts, because I think, and I'm just saying, a lot of people that experience bad business lack the ability to read contracts and negotiate contracts. I think that's where they get did up dirty the worst, because they try to be a little cheap on the front end, and they don't want to pay a lawyer enough to draft something for them or look something over. And they think they can just scan over and be like, page 71. Oh yeah, I looked that over. Go ahead and sign. And I think a lot of people get screwed in business that way.
Yeah, I think so. So like I have a lawyer that's on retainer that I can call anytime. And what I love about him is that even today, I've just seen, I believe, thousands and thousands of different contracts. And I'm not exaggerating that number. I still just don't know. I mean, sometimes you got to tell yourself you don't know. So I give him a call. I say, hey, such and such, I don't understand what this contract is saying. Can you look over it real quick? He'll take a look at it. He might call me back that night and say, this is what they're trying to say. But believe it or not, Aaron, it's sometimes that I have sent him contracts and he said, I have no idea. I went to law school. I don't know what they are saying. And I can tell you straight up, the person who wrote this ain't know what they were saying. Because what people don't understand with a lot of contracts, what happened is one lawyer write it, then one lawyer revise it, then one lawyer revise it. Then once you get 4 or 5 lawyers down the list, they have no idea what is really going on. They just keep adding to something and don't understand the intent. So I'm a big advocate of putting things on paper. If you put things on paper, it makes things a little bit better.
I ain't gonna lie, but if I listen, all right, it's just me and you here. Look, if I want to get away with something, is it in my best interest to get people not to put it on paper?
Well, it depends on who are you. Are you the person receiving the money, or are you the person sending the money? If somebody's sending you money, I might concede your idea of thinking that, hey, I don't want to put this on paper. My biggest goal is to not put it on paper, because you might be if you're the scammer, of course you don't want it on paper if that's the question you're asking. But if you're trying to protect your assets, right? You know, it's a book out there called The Richest Man of Babylon. It started talking about
my favorite book.
And what I love about that book is telling us not to be risky with these investments. And so many people, like, it looks good, but it doesn't make sense. So
the first thing is, but a safe return.
So yeah. That's my biggest thing is are you willing to be on contract? And then another deal breaker in the business world is, do I like you? I know that sounds like petty. I know that might seem.
See, I'm torn with that, because I agree with that. But how do you fight the bias of knowing that you drop your guard when you're dealing with somebody you have a likable relationship with?
Because me being in sales, I believe if you can convince me, you can convince anybody else. So I believe that even whatever product, whatever service that you're offering, I'm hard to get past. And if you can make it past me, you can get money from people who got money.
Yeah, but that ain't hard. I mean, come on, we know Mr. Madoff, he his own friends he got.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So like, that's the toughest part, because I try to equip my mind to reject my biases, or at least allow me to know, hey, this is a blind spot for you. Like, you like this person, so that means you have to scrutinize yourself even more. And sometimes that may cost me, because I'll end up passing on something that was probably beneficial, because my caution of my bias, I could be wrong. You know what I'm saying? And that's a difficult thing for me to balance out. because I'd rather
But
just not deal.
But think about it, me being wrong don't cost me anything. So let me give you an example of what I'm saying. If I'm wrong about you, right, and I feel that you not the right person, and you come up with $1 million idea, and I never invested into it, it never really cost me anything. This fear of loss that a lot of people have is not realistic. It's a million opportunities that me and you miss out on an everyday basis. It's part of the game.
Oh yeah, I don't believe that stuff. When people be like, "Man, I lost a lot of money. I was about to invest in Amazon and I didn't know." Yeah, come on now. I understand that. They be telling they stuff that they lost something. If you never actually invested, you didn't lose anything. There was no loss there.
And I think now I'm in a situation where I want to invest money. I don't want to invest time, right? So I'm at a point that, hey, I don't have another 8 hours to give to another business. I just don't have it. And so what I'm looking at now is this person smart enough to run this business without me? I'm okay with you calling me every now and then for advice, but I don't want to have to babysit you to make sure that my money makes money. And I think a lot of people, what they do is they try to get hands-on. I'm looking so when I say I like you, say for example, if you're doing something in the business, if I put my money into a business, I'm hoping that you at least take some type of consideration of the things that I'm saying. Like if I say, hey, that's not a good idea, this, that, and third, you say, well, I'm gonna do whatever I want to do. That's another red flag for me.
I'm with you on that. Man. What about hood business? Because like you're a businessman. Are you willing to meet in all business arenas? Because we got the streets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all legal businesses. For example,
you talking about the man. You talk about the man in their system. You basically selling out to be a part of their system. But our system of bartering and things like that on our grandparents' good name and stuff like that, you're not willing to negotiate with. You didn't change on us.
No, absolutely not. I get that people can call me whatever they want to call me, but it just doesn't work. If you see how many people have got screwed from just a backdoor handshake deal, it's unbelievable. And then you gotta understand that typically going through court, people don't know is that cost me money maybe in January, and I didn't get paid off that transaction when I went to court TV to almost February of the next year. So that's a year of me trying to wait for court, making these things happen, making sure everything is right. That I'm trying to fight.
You talk about this date?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So wait. I don't appreciate you, right? You pull out this picture out the cut, be like, I've been a star. I've been on TV. I've been doing my thing, right? But you don't actually tell us whether the case was solved and a resolution was given. You gave us a false story, didn't even tell us the outcome. You like, yo, that be me. I've been him, and end of story. And you've been wearing magenta. Now, I look better in the magenta than you, but you at least attempted it, and I ain't mad at you. I ain't mad.
So I love it. I love what you said because I won. I was just trying not to be arrogant, I was trying not to be boastful, but I whooped that ass in court. Like when I got to court, they truthfully and honestly was like they could not believe. I think I was 18 at the time, 18, 19. I know I was in my my late teens. And I was talking to the judge, and the judge was like, "Are you serious?" This lady was a 40. And this is one thing where I think men versus women in business.
Hold on. Before you even get to this story, before we even jump off of it, let me just be clear. Let me be very, very clear. Do you got this on VHS? Like how do you store like the video in which you took the picture of? Is this stored on the little tape thing you got to put in the VHS and then rewind it?
I've been trying to get this video forever. How I got this picture, my uncle called me. He said, "Hey, nephew, you on TV." He's like, "Hey, nephew, you on TV." I was like, "Send me a screenshot, Unc." So Judge Alice actually went out of business. That's the bad part about it.
How do you go out of business as a judge?
I don't know, but they got canceled. I guess they was the first level of getting canceled because they literally got canceled. So, but yes, I've been trying to get that video, and they don't use real names. If you see if we put that picture back up,
Yeah, I
they
see
have
it.
my name as Manny. That's not even how I spell Manny Williams. Or they'll do certain little things like that. But I was in a cook. I was smiling when they took this picture because he just told me that I was about to win the money. So I
You
was
don't remember. You a lie. You a bullface. Like, you don't remember.
I remember the
Well, but
time.
small claims court, they got a max that you can get. How much? It was like 5 bands. I forget what it is.
I got less than 5 bands. So,
but I think
the
that's
deal
the max.
was, I think I got reimbursed for the security. I believe I got reimbursed for the security, the venue, and any kind of losses from promoting flyers, different things like that. I messed up. That's truthfully and honestly, Aaron, I ain't gonna lie, I messed up. If I could take my mind today and I can go back, it's so much. I would say that I had emotional problem. Like, I would have maxed out that being able to get as much money as I possibly can, but I just didn't know. I was too young. It was new to me. It was my first time really kind of going into court, but it's a lot of things I could have did to make way more money on that case than I actually did.
Now, either man, you have to explain to us one, who dressed you? I mean, because ain't no who shot you. This ain't no big notorious BIG. Who dressed you? That's one. We need to make sure we take care of that, and then we need to discuss what gave you the mindset. Because look, I grew up in the projects. Everybody know I'm Section 8 baby. You know what I'm saying? Like, proud. You know what I'm saying? All the way. You know what I mean? But look, some of us made it out just barely. Right now, how do you go from I'm going to run in your spot and take everything and get all my homies, we'll burn this place down over a little $1,500, whatever the case is, to we going to put on the suits and we're going to go to court. We're going to go to court about this. How at that young of age, where was the influence?
So, well, let me tell you, I would be lying to say if I didn't have that first thought that we was just going to run in her spot and we were going to take what she got. So my best friend that's serving life now, that was his first reaction. His first reaction says, "Bet, I'm finding out where she living at. We're going through her house. We ain't going through her business. We're going to her house and we're going to take back what it is." I actually had I wouldn't call him a mentor, but I had a business partner. He's like, "Hey, he helped put up the money for this first thing." And I think he truthfully and honestly just wanted me to really, he just wanted me to win. It was like one of those, I don't want to call it like a pity investment, but he was investing in me because he just wanted me to get a head start. And he was like, "Hey, just to let you know, what we can do if you want to is we could just take this to small claims court." So he kind of dropped the idea in my mind about it. And so in the moment, I was pissed off. I was angry. I wanted to kind of retaliate. I went home. I ate some Waffle House. I don't know if you know about the Waffle House. Ate some Waffle House that night.
I've never been to a Waffle House. They going to take my black card away. You keep asking these questions. Stop.
So I got me an all-star meal from the Waffle House. No pork because I don't eat no bacon. But the all-star meal, long story short, you get you a big waffle. You can't go to Waffle House without getting a waffle. You get some eggs. You get some grits. I got hash browns too on the side. I went there, ate, and I slept on it. Sometimes I think.
I mean, we see the picture. We know you was eating good back then. We know you was eating good.
I was small then. I think in that picture, I was like 165, 170. I know it's hard to believe, man, but I haven't always been big.
I give you that. Now, that's good because I've been to small claim courts twice, but I've been as a support, right? Because it wasn't a thing that happened to me; it happened to people around me, and I'm that like one good friend or family member that you can be like, "Yo, we doing this white people stuff. You gonna hold me down? Yeah, I got you." You know what I mean? You be that one token. You know what I'm saying? So that's good. You had at least some people around you to kind of push you to that way, because once you go there, you got the nerves of how we experienced law enforcement and things like that, and judges and what we've heard that you ain't gonna win the system against you, and then you go and get that experience, and then you win. Like, that's such a mindset shift that you don't know what how lucky you were to get that outcome in that moment at that age.
Well, I think at 18 too, this is the saying where I'm from in Georgia. We heard, just charge it to the game. Charge it to the game. That's what just charge you the game, take the L, you can make the money back. That's what most people do. And I think that's why she was trying to take advantage of me, because she thought I was just gonna like charge you to the game. She didn't think I was gonna retaliate because I had a lot going on for me. So me going to jail would have like really put me in a bad situation. So long story short, that taught me that nobody should be charging it to the game. That's it's a bad thing. If you understand, I think in small claims court, I think I paid $45. I think it was like, I don't know what it is today in your city, but in Augusta, it was $45 to make the claim.
Oh, it's more than that in Cali.
Yeah, so it was so cheap. I remember it was pennies on the dollar that you had to pay to pennies on the dollar. So, and then another thing too, most people look at the money I made. I actually believe going to LA changed my mindset, because when I went to LA, they put me in a 5-star hotel. They gave us money to eat. So they gave you like a little card that you can go out, spend money. And I just was hanging out in LA, and LA was so different from the South. Like going from Augusta to LA was just like apples and oranges. And I think that's kind of what made me want to see the rest of the world when I seen that. It took me out my bubble.
Yeah, I mean, if you in California, LA, Bay Area, and dirty Georgia, I could understand how you might get a culture shock. Just saying, I don't know, because I ain't never been to the dirty, but I'm sure it is a great, phenomenal place to visit for 5 hours.
5 hours, yeah. So what I liked about LA was we saw like the Lambos, you saw like people with money at a different level. In Augusta, you don't really see Lambos, you don't see Ferraris, you don't really see it like you see it in LA. So I thought I was getting money with my couple thousands I was getting every other week or whatever it was, but it kind of really opened up my eyes to see something totally different when I went to LA.
Hey, listen. Hey, did you have a baseball cap on when you went to LA?
Nah.
See, check in, player.
I don't know about the check in part, but I went. I showed up to LA and I had all white. I had a white T-shirt on, and I had some blue jeans on. White T-shirt, blue jeans. But LA was just like, I didn't have no problems in LA either. Like, it was one of those things that, you know what LA did teach me? LA taught me that in the club game, I was thinking way too small, because like they was charging crazy amount for people to get in clubs. They was doing all kind of crazy stuff that, hey, you want to jump the line? 200. I couldn't even get into the club. I just stood outside of it to kind of see how somebody else do it, because I like studying people that's in the same business that I'm in.
Outside of the club. So you was outside the club.
I was too young. Like, so in most places in LA, some places like 25 and up, definitely they ain't had no place for no 18, 19-year-old to go into. I was only 18, 19. But I just wanted to kind of see. That's the one thing is I'm always was looking for ways to expand. I was like, how can I make this club thing, this promoting game, take it to the next level?
Better man than me, because when I was 18, 19, they had me locked up like Akon. So listen, let's get into this business, this good deal versus bad deal information that you want to get into today. Because I'm gonna be honest with you. Where I come from, we just gonna rob you. I don't rob people, me personally, but I happen to know allegedly of people that be willing to do that kind of stuff, which they shouldn't, because it's wrong and they shouldn't do it. So why would we even care about this good business, bad? If you don't do what we say, we're gonna take it. That's what they tell me.
Well, because that only lasts for a very short period of time. That's the truth, right? You getting robbed or you robbing people, that ends with you being in jail, going down, and not being able to do something that is long, that you can do for a long period of time. So the reason I want to talk about good business versus bad business is because it gives you the ability to sustain this for a longer period of time.
You thinking about when you young and you can box a little bit, you like, I could play these games. But when you got your walking chair and all that, you thinking like call my lawyer. I got you. You long-term thinker. I see what's going on here.
So good business. So a good deal. When we start talking about good deal in business, is I love cash business. I love it. That was kind of the reason that I wanted to get into the club game or the promoting game, is because you can get a lot of cash up front. Like the money, if you know, especially if you got like a really known club. Let's just like if we just did the hard math, right? Let's say you're charging $25 a head, and your club earns about 200 people, right? You looking at $200 a head times 25. You're looking at roughly about $5,000 that you can make in a night, just off that. We're not talking about the bar. We're not talking about anything else other than you just being able to charge up front.
So you basically like any cash business for the most part, that's what catch your eye. So that's like a starter for you. You looking for businesses that produce a lot like cash, basically.
Yeah, they're more attractive to me. So I'm not saying that I'm not open to not doing businesses that are not cash, but when I look at the club, when I look at things like for example, another good example is a laundromat, right? Looking at those type businesses, typically those services, vending machines is another good example. Doing those type things or looking at those type businesses, I think those are good deal because you can see the type of revenue that's coming in, and you can kind of really plan for like the club business or the laundromat, different things like that. So I love cash business, hands down. Like I think that they're a great deal. Is it other ways to be able to make money in business? Absolutely, but the cash business, I think, have priority than other businesses. So
I'm with you on that. Listen, anything with cash involved sound like good business. What do you think are some of the advantages to cash businesses as opposed to businesses that probably are not heavy on cash?
So it's a lot of advantages for cash business. I'm trying to think the proper way to say it is, but you kind of have a little
You
bit
going
of
to jail. You're going to jail. I know what you about to say. You like jail, handcuffs, big tone. Like I know what you thinking. Nah. Go ahead and say it then. Go ahead. I'm taking notes, by the way. Go ahead, say it.
So no, I'm just saying that the one thing with cash businesses is you cut out Visa, you cut out all these other expenses to be able to do transactions through a card, if that makes sense. So that's kind of what I like about it. You know, another thing is like if you have the proper business, having an ATM at your front door. Most clubs that in Georgia, they have an ATM at the front door, and they get a percentage every time you go and pay that $2 fee. They don't get the whole $2, but they get some of that ATM fee just because it's there. If that makes sense. So it's just benefits to doing cash.
No, I see it. Now, what's the downside to cash?
Those 50 cent guys, those jack guys that know that you pulling in a lot of cash. That's really the downside of like the club industry, right? So I remember my mother was working my front door one day, right? And so it's really important, especially in the club business, that you can kind of really have an idea of what's going on, if that makes sense. And I remember these guys, we saw them plotting. We saw them getting ready to try to make the move, and we had already moved the money before it even happened, right? So usually in the club industry, what they do is they try to start a fight close to you, do like a snatch and grab type stuff. But all of my security was definitely they was armed. So but you definitely had that. I believe robbing the club, especially on a great night, is better than robbing the bank.
Yeah. You think?
Yeah, I'm just telling you, like,
you ever walked into a bank where they don't have cameras?
Yeah. No to that question. I would say no. I never walked in there where they did not have any cameras. I don't think the cameras be working on some of them banks, but
you out your mind. You out your mind. I'm gonna tell you right now, all them cameras work. All of them work. Every single lad. You ain't gonna never walk into a bank. They all work. All of them. Unless and you thinking of the corner store when you walk in and they got the cameras plugged in and the cables is going through the wall. Yeah, those might be false. Venus wants to come up. You want to drop the link for her?
Yeah,
She's a
yeah,
businesswoman, and this her type of talk. Okay.
yeah. I'm
So,
down for her to come up.
all right, let me set the link up for you, big dog. 1 second.
Before we get into deep into this conversation, but I love cash businesses. You do have to know how to move. Just with cash business, you know you can't take the same route to the same bank. You got to know the people around you. It is a lot of things that come with the cash business, but it's a lot of benefits. You got the one thing that I loved about the club that I hate about my business now. I never had to worry about somebody going to their bank and saying that they didn't pay for this when they know right and right they paid for it. They're like, oh, I don't remember this transaction, and then I'm going back and forth about them not remembering this transaction that they paid for. So using a card, especially if they're using a credit card, and I know that's more of your world, is somebody can easily say they didn't pay for something that they didn't pay for. And it's hard to kind of prove that they actually got what they say that they got.
Yeah, I would say it's in people's best interest to probably use credit cards over debit cards, in my humble opinion. But a lot of people don't have. This is the thing. A lot of people don't have self-control over their money controls them, right? So they try to avoid debt and credit cards because they view credit cards as bad, right? And if they're scared of their bad habits, so they use debit cards instead. I find that to be ultimately a bad idea because when you're using your debit cards, ultimately that's your money that you probably worked for, you've been taxed on, and when an investigation occurs, it can take a good amount of time for them to investigate, right? Because one, you actually have to typically report it in a timely manner. Like a lot of people don't understand, a bank typically is a depository. It's really your job to be the accountant for your money. They're not your accountants. They never claim to be. It's just a place in which you can store your money. And most of us, broke people like myself, where you can get your little $1,500, $2,000 federally insured so you don't feel so bad if something goes wrong. But if you don't report it in a timely manner, let's just say something happened and you noticed it 4 months later, you at a high risk, especially when you're using your debit card, as opposed to when you use your credit card. You typically have zero liability for things you did not do. That's typically one of the things that they claim. So yeah, it's major differences.
Yeah. And then I tell a lot of people too, like if you plan on starting your own business, I tell people straight up, don't get caught up in the situation of trying to go to Aaron or go to the bank and ask them for a loan. I know a lot of people, first option is to go to the bank. I tell business owners your first option should be something that you can get an interest-free loan. And most people don't even know that there's interest-free loans out there. So do you believe in that people should get loans on businesses, or do you feel like they should try
Well,
to
it
go
depends. Do I have ownership in these banks that you making reference to? Because it sound like you ain't a good friend right now. It sound like you trying to give people other options to use, maybe risky businesses, to where they get these type of loans and all these type of things. First of all, they're not that easy to get. All right, don't make it seem like it's that easy to get. Okay.
Oh, they easy.
Yeah, I bet it is easy if they get to, let's say, how much for consultation with either man Williams. Yeah, sure. All right, I'm sure they easy to get. But yeah, I'm an advocate of people knowing all the options that they can in order for them to execute on their business ideas. But I will say we both know business is the riskiest when it comes to like getting money for that. That is super risky because most people fail heavily.
So one place I can't, like he said, you got to book a consultation to get all the sources. But one place that I love sending people to is Kiva. Most people don't know what Kiva is. So I'm heavily involved in Kiva. So what we do is this is a whole bunch of different like entrepreneurs different things around the world, as you can see, and they are saying what they need for their business, for their organization. It's called Kiva.org. Kiva.org is what other entrepreneurs can invest into your business, and you can get something risk-free, no money down, different things like that. So they
did
have.
you just try to do free promotion? Man, listen, if I wasn't a capitalist, I'd charge you $5 for that.
You charge you $5 for that. Well, I'm happy that you're still in the hood. So you let that slide.
Wait till I move on up. Moving on up. Wait till I move on up.
So Kiva is another example. I remember when I started a business, we didn't have the capital up front, and we did Kiva. So 0 interest small business loans. I think they give up to 10,000. A lot of people want to get these big loans, but I think it'll definitely get you put into the right place. So Kiva is an example of like a loan that you can get interest free. Now, for example, if you try and get 150,000, 250,000, most of y'all got bad credit. Aaron in the bank ain't gonna give you no loan anyways. But let's just act like Aaron's just writing checks over there, right? So when it comes down to Kiva, what I love about Kiva is so Kiva make it where you have to do like this campaign before you get the loan, is where you have to reach out to like 10 of your friends and get $25. And your friends are invested in the idea just like us other entrepreneurs are invested. So that's just kind of just kind of other ideas that you can get if you really have a solid idea.
They need loans for like capital intensive businesses. They not looking for no 1,500 5 bands. They need that one when the guy be like, do y'all need access to cash? Like, we can get you one of those $50,000 loans in a matter of seconds, up to $100K. So that's what they really trying to get. This little bit of money like that, that's street money to them. They can run that 2 bands up, 5 bands. They do that like that. They need that 50 bands, 100 bands. They need that type of money. And you find that to be a little bit harder to skate by without no assets in order to securitize, huh?
Yeah, I think so. When I'm talking about a business, most people, I believe in a hybrid method. I know everybody don't believe in this, but I believe that you should work. So when I first started my business, I worked a job. I had a W-2 job while I was building the business. I was burning the candles on both ends. So I don't think that, especially people who are not educated on business, should just jump in feet first. I think those are the biggest failures because they run out of income. And they need the business to be making money for them to survive. I think that's the difference between how I ran my business and I think it was successful versus someone else run their business. And they just like, oh, this business got to pay my light bill. It got to pay my water bill. It got to pay my rent. And it got to feed my kids. And the business got to make money and be profitable by itself. And we know in the first 3 to 5 years, that's just not realistic for most people's businesses. So they go into business with unrealistic expectations.
No, I agree 100%. The problem that I notice a lot is that people don't want to cash flow their business through their main income that much. What they think is, I got to be fully dedicated to this business. I got to be submerged in it. I have to be fully focused on this. I can't really give my attention to that because I was told that I need to chase my dreams and stop selling out and building their businesses and their dreams. And so what happens is people think, and sometimes they lean too into the business too early, and they start to remove capital from the business in order, like you said, to live on. And they really just can't sustain that, especially early on.
Yeah. And so it's a couple different things when it comes down to businesses. I've never been a person that believed that you should be all into one thing. I believe that you should build something to a sustainable, and then you should hire somebody to replace the job that you're doing in that business. And that's kind of what I did over and over and over again. So when people say, hey, you own a business, I own multiple businesses. My biggest goal is for me to be able to walk away from my business for 6 months and that business still be profitable and still be able to grow on the plan that we got it without me. And I think so many people they're selfish. They want to be that guy. They want to be the person that's in the highlight. They want to have the credit. They want to be like Mark Zuckerberg. They want to have the name of Mark Zuckerberg, but they don't understand the other partners who's able to walk away from Facebook and he's still getting some passive income from what Facebook is doing.
Yeah, you using a big name right there. Mark Zuckerberg at the time was probably the youngest billionaire on record. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, that's a big name to use. But I understand what you're saying, because he partnered with like 2 other people in their dorm rooms and all that kind of stuff. And those are the names we don't.
I wouldn't want to be Mark. I would want to be one of those other guys that nobody know my name. You know why? Because when Mark is at the conference and he's doing all the talking, they on the beaches of the world. They in Indonesia, they in Bali, they all around the place making the different money. So my name don't have
disagree. To be like, you come on, like, I understand that, but come on now. Like, Zuck is probably top 10 richest man. You can't say you'd rather been in a business partner that was with Apple that sold his stock early on for a good probably 10,000, and it would have been worth $1 billion by now. You don't want to be him, so no.
No, see, I want to be him, but with my mind, I wouldn't have sold it. I kind of get what you're saying. I'm saying I believe that it's silent partners in Facebooks that are billionaires that we don't know. I won't say billionaires, but they're multi-millionaires. And the only reason they truthfully getting paid is because they was there on day one. Like that's just my opinion. And I don't want to be famous and rich. I know that's crazy. A lot of people want to be famous and rich, but it's a lot of people can't go outside. I want to still be able to go outside. I still want to be able to mingle with people, and I'm okay with that. So if I'm
in disagreement with you on that. I thought long and hard about it. If I had the choice to be either famous or rich, I would take rich. However, it's typically you can't have one without the other. It's very hard, especially in this day and age, to separate that. But I would argue that having a level of notoriety and fame, depending on what it's for, most of the time, can generate you so much money and influence in general, typically. So there's value to being famous, because even if you broke, people might not even know you broke, and you can generate some attention and things like that. So it's actually, as weird as it is, being famous is money, like money, as crazy as that sounds, if you're able to obviously capitalize off of that. But I do agree with you. I would much rather be not known and have a whole bunch of money. And there are a lot of rich people like that are not known. You wouldn't even know that they walk past you. I talk about people like that like the person that run LVMH, nobody really knows about him at all. He would just now be getting on most people's radar, to be perfectly honest with you. Red Girl says, please keep Marcellus in your thoughts and prayers. His wife passed away Monday. Oh, wow. Oh, man. I did not know that. That's crazy. Yeah, we're going to keep you in our prayers, brother. That, man, that's tough to hear, man.
Yeah, that's tough.
Sal, we're going to keep you in our prayers, brother, man. Just keep pushing through, brother.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to keep you and your family in our prayers. Wow, man. I did not know that.
Yeah. And I could just say that's hard, man. That's a hard pill to swallow. So, man, we'll be praying for you, man. Definitely.
Yeah, that's my guy. He supported every show too. So, you know, I try to make every show good for people. I try to be consistent and try to push through the hardest stuff. I do have to say, I'm with you though. I'm with you. If that's the type of money you want to have, and stop spreading lies in the chat. Okay, I'm gonna be working for E-Man real soon. All right, real soon. He gonna just bring me on.
See, but I don't have an ego problem, right? So if somebody was to come to me, let me give you an example. Say Aaron, he become a billionaire overnight, whatever reason, right? We know they don't exist, but we're gonna just say for this story, he become a billionaire overnight. If Aaron come to me and he said, hey, I'm gonna pay you X amount of dollars to come work for my company to get my company where I need it to be, I will humble myself and work for someone. This idea that I have to own the business, that's not me. I know a lot of people think that I'm arrogant. A lot of people think that I got to be that guy. But it's plenty of times that people say, hey, just happened to me about a year ago. Somebody said, hey, Emmanuel, I really truthfully and honestly want you to come and help this company, this, that, and third. We'll negotiate salaries. And I went back to have a job. So I'm not that guy that says that it got to be mine for me to build it. I think it's a bad mindset, and it's a very limited mindset on why people can't get ahead.
Yeah, I'm good with being number 2, 3, or 4. I never have dreams and visions of being the main guy. It's not that I'm incapable of it. It's just that because I've always tried to fight having these ego problems and pride issues that I've seen be the cause of everybody else downfall. I'm very just chill. You know, I may have a level of pride, but I just operate in a certain way where I think it just benefits me the most, no matter what I think society may view that as. And we see that on YouTube a lot, you know, and it is what it is. People can think what they want. But I do think the ego stops a lot of people from progressing. But I would argue it is also that same ego that allows people to excel, right? You know, that ego, I'm going to be better than everybody and things like that. So I do have to agree that it can be two-sided when you really, really think about it in multiple ways. Shout out to my brother Sale. He says, thanks everyone for the prayers. I appreciate, love all y'all.
Gang.
That's the gang. But yeah, so that's kind of how I look at it. I just think a level of flexibility is important. But I'm with you, bro. Ultimately, why not? Why be so egotistical that you have to be the main stepper and you have to be the person that's in charge? I disagree with it. I agree with you.
So I think the next level is, so first of all, you got to find a way to make money, right? There's plenty of ways you can do that. You can choose a job, you can choose a business, you can choose a whole bunch of different things, right? But the one thing that you have to do is, this is the thing that people don't ask. What happened after I make the money? What do I do? Do I go buy properties? What's a good deal? What's a bad deal? And I think this is why we see a lot of people that are like football players, actors. They say, hey, I got this money. Let me go and invest in businesses. Let me go invest in properties. Let me go invest. And then they buy a whole bunch of bad deals. A good example is T-Pain. I don't know if you heard about T-Pain. T-Pain went to Florida and bought all the hood. You know, everybody say, let's go buy these hoods. Let's go buy these projects. And then next thing you know, he was bankrupt. I think he said he had like, what, $1,000 left to his name?
Yeah, I haven't looked deeply in that story. I think people make the mistake where they say just buy land, they ain't building no more of it. They don't understand that you have to still have some level of, I don't say you need to be an expert, but you have to have some level of knowledge to know how you're going to monetize an investment, because you have to look at what type of investment this is, right? Is this a park money here and let it develop over time and then cash in later? You know what I mean? Because if you buy land, right, if you're not actually monetizing the land, you just own it, you could sell it later for some money later. But if you're not, you know, what you would do with some land, they would be struggling and it wouldn't produce cash flow. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's a lot of different levels to it. I just like working for the man. You just work for the man. They send my paycheck every day. I ain't worried about no passive income, no investment accounts. Who needs those? Loan boss, go ahead and send that check. We good.
So I kind of like what you said there. So it's two different types of investments, in my opinion, right? So say, for example, if I got 50,000, or let's go a little bit lower. Let's say I got 10,000.
Nah, we ain't no little dogs around here. Everybody in my chat got 50 bands. I'm the only little dog around here. No, we're going to speak that 50 bands. Let's start with 50 bands.
All right, so say, for example, I got $50,000, right? And I don't have a lot of income coming in. I don't want to put that 50,000 in something I have to sit on. Let me give you an example of something you have to sit on. So what T.I. did is T.I. bought Bankhead Fried Fish on the west side of Atlanta, and he literally held on to it for 20 years, right?
That's super capital intensive. When you're talking restaurant business.
So it was smart. It was a great idea because he made a lot of money on it. What he did is, first of all, the business went out of business. He just bought the land. He didn't run the restaurant. He literally just bought where it was at. Gentrification happened on the west side of Atlanta, and now he's selling that land today that he's been sitting on. Master P did that exact same thing. Master P, he did that same thing sitting on land. But the reason that they was able to sit on these investment 5, 10, 15, 20 years is for the simple fact that they had a whole bunch of money coming in from something else, and they didn't have to have that money right then and there.
Yeah, okay,
And
I see what you mean. So you just talk about sitting on money in general. He didn't need to produce cash flow. He didn't need to sustain his day-to-day operations and things like that. Yeah, no, that can be a good deal. I'm just gonna just jump out and say I know a few restaurant owners. I don't like restaurant businesses. The margins are horrible. I talk to a lot of them. The margins are horrible. Like unless you got like some special like niche where it really stands out your business, right? And you have a way to flow a lot of traffic. It's just a very difficult business to be successful at. It really,
but
really is.
the reason that I brought up restaurant business is because if you can buy the land that these businesses are going out of business on, like the actual land that the restaurant is on, it can be very profitable, especially if you can see stuff like gentrification happening before it happens.
Yeah, and see
Uh,
now you're getting into leasing that land to somebody else because I don't know if you really want to run that business. I don't know. I'm with you though. I'm with you.
hey
I can see
Lou, how
what
you doing, brother?
What's up, fellas? What's up? Is my sound okay?
yeah, you good, bro.
All right. No, I just wanted to join the conversation. Obviously, money talk is interesting talk, right? So I guess, what's the premise of the conversation? Are you guys talking business strategies? What is the premise of the conversation? I just came in. I wasn't watching.
So next time, Lou, we need you to show up on time. Not just playing. Now,
No, my
so
bad, my bad.
I'm joking, Lou. No, when we just talking about good deals versus bad deals in
Mm,
business. I
mm,
think when we see like football players, we see athletes. It's not that they didn't have the money. And I know we think that they just go to the club and they just blow all their money in the club, and that's why
mm-hmm,
they broke. I think that the reason they broke is that they make a lot of bad business decisions. It's kind of like T Pain. Let's talk about how T Pain was just buying property that was not
mm-hmm,
worth anything, and
mm-hmm.
he ended up had to file bankruptcy because he just did bad deal over bad deal.
Yeah,
Okay.
I want to answer Peter's. Peter, that's my guy. He always support me. I want to answer his questions, and if they're gonna put them in the chat, it's fun to talk about them.
Yeah,
Cash flow versus appreciation. Which do you identify as better?
better. It depends on my financial situation. So that's what it really comes down to. So on my channel, I did a review. It's a game called the Cash. It's called the Rap Trap by Robert Kiyosaki. You have a board game that you can play with your kids, right? Um, it all depends. So, say for example, say if I'm investing everything that I got, right? If I'm like putting everything into it, I really would like cash flow because I kind of got rid of my cash flow and I need to be able to try to replace it. But like if I'm just sitting on a whole bunch of money, I know for a fact, hey, the IRS says, hey, if you keep this money in your bank, you're gonna get taxed at 27%, and I need to get down to 18%. I know I'm just using numbers, and I can buy a piece of property to get less taxes to save me money, and I can plan to do that later. Appreciation, I like it. So I don't think it's fit all. It all depends on the situation that you're currently in that you need, if that makes sense.
I'm going to agree with you. I would say I would say in general, most of the time, the cash flow is probably better to prioritize in the general case. I think you look at appreciation when you are trying to avoid as many taxable scenarios as possible. When you like, I don't want to cause a taxable event, then you want to look at appreciation uh, more significantly. But in general, I would say cash flow is king. And Lou, what
So
you
yeah,
think?
Um, Coming from, you guys know I'm in the mortgage industry, right? Unfortunately, right now rates are at 8%. So I am completely, I am at a complete loss, and we are just sitting on in front of our computers waiting for the Fed to do something. But coming from that perspective, I would say cash flow is king, right? Shout out to Grant Cardone. Obviously, any investment that you're looking to do, you're looking to fight inflation. Even if you know it or not, subconsciously, you're trying to fight that inflation rate. So, in my opinion, you should always invest in an investment vehicle that is going to give you cash flow. Obviously, that cash flow is going to give you a return on your investment. But for an example, I think Edaman was mentioning that T-Pain was buying a bunch of properties. I guarantee you he was buying properties that were single-family properties. And those single-family properties, first of all, if you rent them out, the rent is not going to pay that mortgage if there is a mortgage, right? That's why I always tell my clients and other people as well that are trying to buy property to buy 3 doors or more. If you're going to go into the real estate game, buy 3 doors or more or 2 doors or more so that that rent can pay for the mortgage. In other words, you have that cash flow and there's something left over. Also, you have to make sure that you understand that as the property increases in value, your taxes will increase. That's why I always tell people.
Lou, hold
Hold on,
on. Let's
let me
have the conversation, Lou.
hold on. Let me
I want
land
to
real
have the
quick.
conversation.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
So no, let's have the conversation because I want to challenge what you're saying.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead. Go ahead. I have no
I
problem.
believe that most people don't make enough money to qualify for 3 doors. Do
But
you
that wasn't the
disagree with that
premise of the
statement?
conversation.
No. It's a reason that I'm not trying to like be facetious or anything. But when we say, hey, just go get a 4-plex. Matter of fact, you know what you do? Just go get 20 doors. Go buy apartment complex. Most people don't have enough cash flow to do that. Do we?
Yeah, but well, the question wasn't if you have enough money to get it. The question was, in my view, is if you are going to make an investment at all in a property for any reason, you should not even be thinking about a single family. In other words, if you don't have money to at least get a duplex, you should not get into the real estate game because not in the residential game because you're going to buy a single family. That single family is not going to generate enough cash flow in order to pay for that rent and pay for that mortgage, sorry, and leave you a little bit of money left over. So when people are looking to invest in real estate, my opinion is, as a mortgage professional, I've closed over 700 loans in my career. I've been doing this for 6 years now. Always, always, always get multi-family properties. And again, guys, we can have conversations about the different programs, right? Today, you can get a 4-family property depending on your location. Obviously, if you want to live on the 2nd floor or the 4th floor, never live in between because it's super annoying, you can get a property for 3.5% down. And if you're in Texas, it's going to be a different price than you're in Boston. So obviously, you need to study the markets and see where you're at. But again, in my opinion, if you're going to get into the residential real estate game, why would you buy a single family? There's no cash flows in single family at all.
Well, so I think it's 2 different models. So I'm a big advocate of owning where you stay at. I don't believe, for example, here in Seattle, Washington, the place that I was looking at getting the exact same size, it would have cost me $2,500 for me to buy that. I mean, to live in that house, to rent that house. Since I bought a house, same exact size, my mortgage was like $1,800. So I know most people look at it as that's no cash flow, but I was able to save $700. We stayed in that property for about 2 to 3 years, and I made $250,000 off
You don't
selling
think
that
that's
home.
abnormal though? Because if you're saying the going rate for rents is that price, and then you can get a mortgage for $700 less, you don't think that's a little abnormal? That don't sound common.
I think it's. I can't speak for other places, and Lou
I
have to
get
speak for his market. But most of the time, what I have saw, your mortgage is typically cheaper than what people are charging you for rent. Have you seen that in your industry, Louis? Do you feel like the mortgage is cheaper?
So the mortgage will only be cheaper depending on the terms of the loan. In other words, right now, you're better off renting than buying because rates are at 8%. So you're going to pay more if you're buying than if you are renting. However, at the same time, we know that properties get reassessed every year. So once that value increases, the taxes increase for the owner, and the owner is also going to increase your rents regardless. But at the same time, what we see a lot of times in the industry is that most landlords don't want to increase the rent too much because they don't want to lose a good tenant. So it all depends on the game. It's a really complex situation. This market right now, Edaman, is not a good market for you to purchase. Of course, I would rather people stay renting for now. But if this was 5 years ago, where you could get a mortgage at 3.25% at an FHA, or a 3.5 at a conventional, paying a low PMI at maybe 5%, or if you have 20%, it's always better to put down 20% because you're not going to pay that PMI or that MIP. Then it's a different story. But it's all about what type of investor you are and what market you are playing in my opinion.
So right now, I would buy a property if I can get the right deal, right? And what I mean by the right deal, I'm going to break it down when I'm saying this.
Go ahead.
When rates was 3.25, what we saw is people was paying $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 over asking price. They were spending way over. Like a person that lists a house for $500,000 and they closed at $600,000. Like that people was throwing money at the market, and that was a bad deal. Now, vice versa, we're saying now that it's at 8%. If I found somebody in a situation where they're giving me $100,000 in equity, or they're giving me, it's the opposite way. Well, I'm getting a lot of equity in this house. This house worth $500,000. They're selling it for $400,000. I will at least consider it. I'm not saying that I would make that deal, but I do see right now, cash is the key right now, Lou. If you got cash to buy properties, people are selling it a lot less than what houses are worth in this market right now.
I'm seeing that as well. I'm seeing prices.
I agree. Because the problem, again, properties get reassessed every year, right? And I don't know why the United States does this. It's so frustrating. I've had many clients that sold their property because they could no longer make the payment on that single family, right? Because taxes are crazy, so they don't want to make that payment anymore, so they sell the property. And usually in a market like this, Eman, you are correct, where people will sell the property if they're desperate enough for a lower purchase price or selling price than they would normally. Because right now, in this exact moment, the only people that are purchasing properties are people that have cash. No one wants to finance properties right now. I haven't had a new application in 3 weeks, Aaron. 3 weeks, no new applications. When I'm busy, I close 30 loans a month. I haven't had a new application in 3 weeks. So it's a really tough market right now, but you are correct. If you have that cash, if you have that money, and you're willing to find those desperate sellers, you're in a good place.
Yeah, okay. Especially when you talk about arms too, man. And people about to get wrecked.
I don't know why people get arms. This is what I'm saying as well. I always tell my clients, hey, listen, that 15-year fixed or that 30-year fixed is always your best option, because you don't want to get caught with your pants down, in an arm loan in a market like this. You're going to get destroyed. And then that's when you're going to sell your property. And you might be upside down now, Aaron, because you're desperate enough to sell, but you sell for 300 and you own the bank 400, and now you're upside down 100. So you owe the bank 100. So it's real tough.
All right, so I did, since we was talking about real estate, I had this document that I wanted to show. So this right here is called a closing statement. What I love about the closing statement, I believe that everybody should know how to read this at a basic level. So typically, if I was to go to Lou and I asked Lou a simple question, I said, hey, Lou, I want to get this. He might send me this statement about 4 or 5 times because things move and different things like this. I just wanted to point out some things. And like I said, this is more of Lou profession. So if you see some things that I might be missing, I definitely tell him to point those things out. But I do believe that if we're thinking about investing in property, we're thinking about getting a loan, we should know what this closing statement is.
So I just want to ask before you move forward, do you guys agree with my rule? It's my personal rule, right, for me and for the people that ask me, to always buy 2 doors or more if you have the down payment. And if you don't agree, I kind of want to get your understanding of why you don't agree, because in the industry, this, I do the math. I do this for a living. I always see people that buy single family investment properties struggling because they're only saving. There's only $200 left over from the rents. You cannot make your tenants pay an insane amount for that single family property. And multifamily units have always worked better. The math just works out. So I just kind of want to get, because I see Aaron shaking his head. I'm interested in understanding why is he shaking his head. Go ahead.
No, because I understand your point. I'm what the way I look at it is just all about the deal. Whatever the numbers say, you have to go with that. Like it's all about the deal at the end of the day. And if this deal is the best deal, it could be better than somebody that has a two doors or three doors. If the deal is better, it's better. So I understand maybe you mean like in a general sense that might be the way to look at it. I'm just under the impression that it's all about the deal.
Okay. Yeah. I don't want to go too deep into that. I guess I'll agree with you just for the sake of the argument, and so we can move on. But what I've always seen, Aaron, in the industry is that two doors is always better than one. This is what I have always seen. When we do the numbers and when we do the math and when I look at the deal, because I have access to be able to look at the deal in its fullness, the math always works out better for the client if he has a 2, 3, 4 family property rather than the single family.
All right, so let me give you an example. All right, so my first property that I bought was $350,000. Right, I just think it depends on how long you're looking at this situation. Right, so if I look at over the next 10 years, a long term, 10, 15 years, a single family home typically is not a bad deal as long as I'm not stressed for cash. So I have passive income that comes in every single month that I knew that I would never get in a situation where I couldn't pay my mortgage. At that time, I think my mortgage was like $1,500. So I had two options. I either can buy this single family home or I can rent a place for the next 5 to 10 years. I believe me actually renting that single family home in a proper neighborhood. It was in a gated community. It was a neighborhood that a lot of people was willing to get in. I think I got it for $350. It was worth $400,000. So most of my closing fees got kind of caught up. I was VA, so I didn't have to put any money down. A single family home made sense to me. Now, if you got PMI, and that's kind of why I'm with Aaron when he said that it's all about the deal. Because if you got PMI, you got all these other things going on, it might be a bad deal. But I can't tell veterans that they shouldn't get their first home. They should rent when all the benefits that veterans get.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, because here's where I'm coming from, guys, right? If you're buying a single family property for 400 and you're putting 3.5 down at an FHA, a two family is only going to cost you $100,000 more or $125,000 more, and that 3.5 down is not that much of a difference. See what I'm saying?
Hold on 1 second. Give me 1 second. Hey, Uncle Jeff, is that you?
Yeah, man.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I can hear you.
Yeah.
And I got 2 questions.
All right. Go ahead, Nidus. Do your 2 questions.
Okay. Do you know about this 40-year mortgage thing? Is that a bad situation?
I heard of 40-year. I think that if you can afford it, you should do a 15-year mortgage. So and that
you
that's
think you
kind
Dave
of
Ramsey now, huh?
no, it's not, because there's a such thing as a 10-year
let me tell
mortgage
you
too.
what I'm saying is,
Isn't Bank of America offering
a duplex,
that
right?
40-year?
There was a fixer that was, they said after it's repaired would be worth 7, that I got for 474, but I did the front house, but both houses need to be repaired. So it's equity there, but I'm kind of like stuck in it, and the way I got it was through a hard money, and I just want to get something that's a little easier to pay to be able to save more. Is the 40-year make sense, or should I be still trying to get the higher value 15-year?
First thing I would tell you is send me an email so we can talk about that. The second thing I'm gonna ask is, so have you already got the hard money? Are you already into the loan?
I did that in the end of 2021.
So you got a really high interest.
Yeah, but I put 30% down. So I just
But you still got a high interest. Like hard money is like
high.
is high, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
hard money is what, 12% nowadays?
No, it's more than that.
Yeah, 12.5.
12.5, yeah.
Wow. Ouch.
So
yeah.
no, I think what you have to do is if I was in your situation, I would try to see if I can find an investor or a partner, depending on how much you in. I'm gonna try to get somebody to come in and get me out that hard money. Especially if you can't qualify for a loan yourself. So you kind of want to get out of hard money because 12% is horrible, in my opinion.
You better hope that shit.
I'm sorry,
I didn't mean to swear. You better hope that doesn't have a balloon payment.
Yeah.
So if you have a
what
balloon
I would do
payment,
is
you're screwed.
So if I was in your situation and I knew that Aaron was sitting on like $600,000, right? I would try to position Aaron and say, "Hey, Aaron, I got the property. You're sitting on $600,000. Hey, let's pay off this hard money loan." Or, "Hey, Aaron, you got good credit. Let's try to get it down to 8% or 7% or whatever it is."
Yeah.
I would try to get out of that 12%. But the biggest problem is you don't want to be house rich, but cash poor.
That's where I'm at right now.
You don't want to be in a situation that you need to invest $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 and you don't have that type of money to be able to, you don't really have the money to invest it to make it worth it. And most banks, especially now, if that house is need repair, they're not giving you money on fixer-uppers.
They not giving out no loans right now. They listen, if you not A1, you
usually the only people that get hard money are people that are going to flip the property, because usually hard money loans are 1 year interest only, which is insane. So
they still got to like the deal though.
Well,
he got this loan a while back though.
Here's 1 year interest only loans work best for like your man Lou just said. Those are for investors. Those are for people who know.
Those are for flips primarily.
Yeah, I'm gonna get my bread back fast. I'm probably gonna get my bread back in 7 months, as opposed to a year. You have to be honest with yourself about who you are walking in the bank. You can't. This is why I only had a little pushback as a veteran with Edaman. You are never at an advantage only buying one door. One door is always, especially as your first piece of property, a disadvantage because of the opportunity it is to develop passive income and look better on paper. It always, if I had somebody to, well, actually, I've never used my VA loan ever. So I never, the first piece of property I bought was a 4-unit dwelling. I lived in one, rented out the other 3, and paid all the money towards the principal. And pushed towards the principal as much as I could, so that when I went back for another loan for another piece of property, they looked at the loan I had, and I had 3 tenants. They paid on time. I didn't have any problems maintaining this piece of property. So when I went back to get a loan for another 4-unit dwelling, it was a no-brainer. Then by that time, and by over say a 6-year period, the passive income to debt ratio for good tenants, you never really are worried on the level other people are worried on, as long as you maintain your property.
I get what you're saying, but if I was, let's just say if I can
what?
go back and do it again, right? If
Mhm.
I was to rent those 3 years that I own my single
Dope
family
ass
home,
hoodie, by the way.
thanks, I appreciate it. I would have been in a worse situation because when I sold my single family home, I get you said that it was no passive income. I think we got it for $350. We sold it for like $550. Of course, we got to pay fees, closing costs, and we only had that property for 3 years. So you're telling me it's no way that I could have made that type of money renting. So I get it. If you bringing in 10, 15,000, you can qualify for a fourplex or a duplex. That's cool. I still believe that a person owning a home in the right deal is better than their renting. I'm not saying that a person owning a single family is better than a duplex or a triplex.
Oh, yes, most definitely. If you have to choose between renting and owning, owning is, especially your first step, generally a very good first step. What I'm saying is looking to buy a big first one door. I would not give that advice. I don't give that advice to my children. I don't. No, your first place needs to be at least a duplex, if not a 4 or even an 8 unit dwelling. And if you can, that's the thing most people don't know, is that if your credit is good enough, you really don't need a much huger down payment to get an 8 unit dwelling than you do a 4 or a 1, because the bank already knows that you're not living in 7 of those. So
Do you think
those are going to be rented.
Do you think there's some law that prevents Mark Zuckerberg from buying up all the properties?
No.
Why doesn't he do it?
Because his financial advisors tell him not to, because of whatever reasons they may have. But you cannot. What you can't do is hold up a mirror to Mark Zuckerberg's portfolio and say that everyone else is foolish, because Warren Buffett's portfolio doesn't look like that. Bob Kiyosaki's portfolio doesn't look like his. No, investors follow trends and certain ideas, but they don't follow each other mirrored or identical.
The reason why is because you can find somebody that is probably the most successful single family home investor, and they do better than people that just only invest in multi properties. You can actually find people that exist, and it's not small numbers.
Aaron, that would be true. That might be true for equity in a way, technically speaking, if the equity is right. But that the math cannot be true when it comes to rents. For an example, if I have 5 properties that are single family, and the rent and the mortgage is $1,500, you're not going to be able to rent that out for $3,000. You're just not.
It'll be about 23. You get about 2,300.
Awesome, depending on the area, right? What we're saying and what I'm saying is, first of all, the difference between a single family and a duplex, even a triplex, when it comes to down payment, especially if it's your first property, because you can use the FHA program for 1 to 4 at 3.5% down, which is amazing. Only after you go investment do you need to put 25% down for that 4 family. Okay.
So let me ask you this. Let's say, what age are we saying that somebody? Let's just say probably you're talking about a 24-year-old, 25-year-old. Just my guess, right? Is that
let's say this is my first property. Lou is gonna buy his first property ever. Okay.
At what age?
Let's say I'm 28. The average age
at 28
is near 30 now.
Do you have a wife and 2 small children in that duplex with you?
I might have a wife, but not 2 children.
But imagine if you do.
Yeah.
Would you then, when you leave and go to business, Leave your family in that home in that duplex next to somebody that you cannot necessarily, and that would limit you to a market that there has to be somebody that's safe for your family.
Yeah, but now you're adding something else into
But
it.
it's an actual real thing though.
But
Yeah.
see,
It's
So,
part of the
so
reason
yeah,
people prioritize single
if I
family
have
homes.
yeah. Do
if
you
I
know
have
who
a
that would
if
make
I
me?
have if I have a family that needs to be relatively, I suppose, more safe, and the kids need space in the backyard, I'm buying a single family. But
Okay,
I know as a loan processor and as a loan originator, technically, I've again 700 loans later, here we are 6 years later. Every time someone buys a single family property, I always think to myself, these numbers don't look good because next year when that taxes increase, they're going to be wishing they bought a triplex or a duplex.
Ooh-wee.
Okay,
no,
so
but see, did you talking about people who got bad deals? Listen,
No, no,
so
no, no, no.
because
But either
hold on,
man.
let me land,
Go
and
ahead.
I'm gonna.
Go ahead.
So when I bought my first property for that 350,000, I think that payment was only like 25% of my income. Like, so even if they would have increased the taxes, it wouldn't have been no situation that I was in a bad situation that I couldn't pay the
Yeah, but
taxes.
that's
If
you,
a,
right? That's
I
you.
know, listen, if a person's in a situation, and this is what the point that I'm making is, if you at the top of your budget and you barely can afford that house, that is a bad deal. Don't make that deal. And I tell them, I even argue the point, don't even make that deal with a fourplex. So and the reason I'm saying it, I had the same mindset, Lou. I wanted a duplex so bad, but a decent duplex in Washington will go 600,000. And
Mhm.
either I could have got it for 600,000 or I could have got this house for 350,000. At 600,000, if I had a renter didn't pay their rent for 3 months and I stayed in the other side, I would have been in a bad situation. I couldn't afford that duplex because they just went 3 months without paying them. I would have been screwed if I had those two doors. So my person told me this right here. Hey, you can pay this. He said, you got VA coming in. You can pay this payment in your sleep. And I think people, especially when they're looking at their first property, they need to actually make sure that it's only 35% of their total income at the max.
Okay, yeah, I will agree, man, for the sake of the conversation. Sure. Depending on the situation, I suppose a single family property would be better. But like I'm saying, if you have the chance to buy a duplex or a triplex or a fourplex, do that. Trust me. You're
Uh,
going to
could
be very happy doing that.
could I chime in real quick? And then I'm gonna run.
Go ahead on.
Uh, yeah, I got. I'm sorry, guys. Maybe it's because of where I live. I live in Southern California. I've seen this story over and over. I decide with Lou. If Aaron had asked me, and if Aaron had doubled up on his circumstances like he did, because he started with a single man and then ding a ding a ding bloom, like Rich Gareth gave him a wife and two kids. If you give me a wife and two kids to live in a duplex, uh uh with what I know now, the three of you cram your asses in this duplex for 5 years, and guess who we resemble in 15? The Armenians, the Koreans, the Chinese, all the people here, the
Aaron's like,
Mexicans,
hell
they
no.
all do exactly this. They will inconvenience themselves at first because their version of the American dream is different. It's
So,
not.
but it is a bad deal, if you can't afford that duplex with just your money. If you were a duplex, and I get it, you're charging them, like, say for example, you're charging them and you barely being able with their money to make the payment. Let COVID happen. They go 6 months without paying that. If it's too above your budget,
Two
I get
years
it.
without paying it.
Imagine they go 2 years without paying it. You're gonna be in a bad situation if you can't afford that duplex outside of that renter. Now, when you got 7 doors, 8 doors, 9 doors, that's a whole nother conversation because it's a different map problem. But when we just look at the duplex and you at the top of that budget, say 6, because I didn't see that when I was looking. I would have got a duplex if I could have found something at 350. I was buying a house at 350 and I found the duplex at $350,000, I would have took that opportunity. But the closest to that $350,000, remember this 350 was basically new. I had a brand new house and I got this ran down duplex that they wanted me to pay $600,000 because here in Washington, duplexes are very hot. Is a very hot item. So it was just a better deal. So I think we got to focus on the deal and not just, hey,
Sure.
it's better to go to this.
Well, you know why those deals are hot, right? Because those deals are hot because and it's the honestly, it's the dice I first rolled when it came to buying real estate. And it paid off. It's the dice I rolled. It's the dice I'm telling my children to roll. It's basically if you come in with your credit right and your money straight, you get into a situation where what you pay for the rent only leaves you with 35 to 40% financial responsibility on the first. 65% of that financial responsibility is taken care of by the renter, which puts you in a state of positive cash flow. What do you do with the positive cash flow? If you don't buy jet skis, if you ignore it, which is what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to ignore the positive cash flow outside of maintenance for the first 2 years. I'm almost paying Section 8 to live here because the person next door is paying rent that is not the mortgage.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
What if you have a bad tenant, which is a lot of people's first experience? A lot of people.
Oh, well, here you go. If you have a bad tenant, you're fucked. If you ride a motorcycle and you hit a patch of oil, you can lose control and die. All of the people I know who made money in real estate got out into a 2-unit or 4-unit dwelling, and somehow they found a way to not get screwed in this fashion. If you are, again, my advice is not for everybody. If you scared you're going to get a shitty tenant that's going to make you lose your property, buy one door. If you're not, buy 4. There it is.
But see, if Lou be honest, he'll tell you all of the the people that's foreclosing right now that had duplexes, they had people in there who wouldn't do it. We're not saying that they're scared. I think it's a numbers thing. And that's the only point that I was making. I only can afford 35% of my income to go towards a property because I was reinvesting into business. I knew for a fact if everything went wrong, the next 10 to 15 years, I could have bought that. Now, I would have loved to have been in your situation where I had a 4-door. Matter of fact, if I want one day to have a 50-door, I want to own a whole apartment complex. But I'm just saying, I'm going back to if I had a choice whether I'm going to rent or I'm going to own, logically, it doesn't make sense for me to rent somewhere for 10, 20, 30 years, what we see Black people do, if they can own a single family home that's 30 to 40% of their income.
I know that out here, though, they had that moratorium that lasts 2 years. So people didn't pay anything to their landlords.
Well, we haven't seen the total fallout of that just yet.
Well, you're talking about the entire collapse of an economy. You're talking about the Big Short. I wasn't talking Big Short numbers. I was talking some all things being equal.
But for the sake of the conversation, yes. Yeah. If you got money and you getting money, yes, go ahead, and you don't have to really worry about default and this and that because you're getting a lot of money. So this ain't no disagreement. Most people that are single family home investors are like small business owners. This is what y'all don't understand. Like that's the mindset. These people are not really running up a bag. They just got their first piece of property, and sometimes they barely cash flowing because that's just how it works, especially up front. Sometimes you just have to get into control, and everybody doesn't go into it with a certain level of skills.
Well, you're not supposed to go into to real estate broke. Who said go into real estate broke? The first thing you're supposed to do
is
that's what they said.
At 19, here we go. We had this conversation on another show about how I was wrong to not let my daughter stay under my roof and not develop her own credit at 19. My daughter lives she lives with a relative to overshare that is reporting that she's paying on time. So I am building her credit on paper so that, and I am teaching her her first car is going to be cash. You're going to pay cash for your car and pay the bank of you a monthly payment. These are the things that we're not taught, so that she is financially solvent, even on a Baltic. Let's talk monopoly terms. I'm not telling you to buy St. James Place right out the gate. I'm not telling you to buy Pennsylvania Avenue. Buy some Baltic. She can buy Baltic Avenue right out the gate and still rent somewhere else. You can rent.
So you what you're advocating for is me get a duplex, get 2 renters in there, and then go rent a room from my cousin.
Absolutely. You damn right. You damn right. You know how many millionaires I know that did that? I know 3 millionaires right now did just that.
I'm not knocking it. So if you know what I believe that I bought this house that I'm currently in is because it's big enough for my family to be able to stay here for the next 15, 20 years. So I'm not knocking it. I do think that my daughter should go out and buy a duplex and she should maintain standing here at my house and making that cash flow. I get that. But do you believe that that is something that is realistic in the Black community today?
Do I believe what?
That somebody can stay with their parents and live in a room with their parents while they go out and buy a duplex as the community as a whole.
You wait a minute. You mean with the community's mindset as a whole? Absolutely not. But I'm not working with the community's mindset as a whole, and nor are active Black dudes that I know that are my age, on my level, which is not rich, but I'm not raising my children like that. We've had this conversation. I'm not raising my children how I was raised. That was crazy. If somebody in my immediate family had told somebody else in my immediate family, Big Mama let me stay in the basement while I rent that house down there out to somebody, nigga, you crazy. How come you don't just move in the house yourself? Of course. Of course. But that's not what I'm teaching my children. That makes perfect sense to me, to live you can live under a bridge if you have to. If you have property that you can use as leverage. Nobody seems to get that. You can re-soak or refinance this home. If you get behind on your mortgage, I say go live in a Winnebago and rent your house out until you get your shit together, and then come back and knock on the door and tell these people to get the fuck out and move back in your house. But we're not taught to think like that.
Let me get to the super chat either, man. Before we got to acknowledge the people. Sir James Brown, says, in Los Angeles, you have no choice. I know it says 2 choice, but it really means no choice but to rent. The minimum home in Los Angeles is $1 million plus, and people are buying the hood is in the millions.
It's amazing that you figured that out, because I don't know what that was. 2CP.
I know what he meant, because it's like if you come to the Bay, you come to San Francisco, you'd be hard pressed to find a boarded up home that's not owned by the government that you could actually go and purchase it. You'd be hard pressed to find.
Well, what if he got on a plane and went to Detroit?
Oh, no. Listen. This is the thing that me and Edelman was speaking about. It depends on the market, because some places don't have a lot of duplexes. Some do. So
what's wrong with taking a plane somewhere else in the 48 contiguous United States?
There's a lot of reasons why that is difficult. Now, I understand the internet have made the world smaller, but if you're a first-time landlord, right, and you live in California, and then you want to go purchase in Detroit, right? And you just have just enough money to do that, whatever the case is. Mm-hmm. You typically need to manage it yourself.
Why do people even live in California anymore, man? Like, let's not even talk about California.
But I know this.
Hey, listen. Okay.
Nowhere.
Yeah, listen. I listen to your side of it. Shout out to Team Fatty. He said, I'm sponsoring the show. and all y'all moved to Portugal. Okay, so we're going to Portugal.
No, but so I think broke people should live in LA. Like I personally would, if I'm
Say
broke,
that again, either man.
broke people shouldn't live in LA. Like if you broke, you should work at your little buffer job, buffing tables, get $500 and go somewhere that you can afford it. Like people don't want to have these realistic conversations. When I bought my first property, I could not buy a property in Seattle. I had to push out almost an hour and a half from Seattle, and I had to commute. I had to figure it out. Like go where you can actually afford it.
Yeah,
like if you can't afford it, you shouldn't be there.
That's smart. People don't want to do that.
No, it's like you trying to stand outside the club and you can't get in it. Leave the club. There's no reason for you to be
parking lot. But that's actually not even plausible, because you have to understand a lot of the economy that is ran on or by the people that can't afford to stay. They have to travel from outside the city to come in and give you your coffee, to come in and give you your McDonald's, to come in and so if you really legitimately, you actually can't afford to have a lifestyle and price those people all the way out. You might can get them just outside the city, but if you push people too far away, you won't have anybody to run none of these businesses.
Okay, let's back up a little bit. Weren't we just discussing, and again, to overshare, I'm looking at property right now that is 3,000 miles from my front door, because I don't have to own the property in the city I live in. There's something known as property management. And generally, property management and its management fees are not, it's not like the price of what's something that costs the same all
it's
over.
Roughly, it's the average price. The average is about 10%. The problem is you're speaking about first-time people. Like if you already own a property, Uncle Jeff, you're removed from the list. You literally are talking about people that have no guidance.
Okay, let's start with them. I have no guidance. You have no guidance.
You have no guidance, and you're telling them to purchase a property
in Detroit,
3,000 miles away, whatever the case is, and manage it from another place where they don't have the skill set to do that. They don't know anything about managing. Go ahead.
Yeah, I can tell you right where to go get it right now. 2 words. Grant Cardone. He explains exactly how to do that. And what he explained is something I did over 20 years ago, and it's still the same advice. Yes, it's scary. Yes, it doesn't look no, it's not sexy. No, it isn't. If you good, and like I told you, this advice isn't for everybody. For a first-time homeowner, you better go buy where you can afford. Don't buy no property in California as your first time unless you hit Powerball. But the property is going up everywhere. But you're going to have to, like Eda Man said, you need to be honest with yourself about who, what, and where you are.
Speaking to rich people then. Because yes, you are. Because if you can't afford in your city, right? Yeah. So now you're looking to buy an investment property where they're not going to qualify you the same typically for a primary residence, right? So there are some ways around it, but it's going to take some level of expertise to get specialized loans in other areas. And most people don't have those skills. So ultimately what you're saying is, I can't afford to buy a home here. I'm going to go get them to basically loan me money to get an investment property. And then I have to cash flow where I'm living at. Okay. Okay. All right. You got it.
Are you guys referring to Cardone Enterprise?
That's what.
No, we don't need to discuss no Cardone.
I mean, here's where I'm at with that.
I came in late on that.
As far as like buying property outside of your state, I know. Listen, my family's full of rich guys, right? I'm the only broke one. Everyone else is loaded. 500K a year plus. These guys buy houses in other countries. They're making rent in other countries. They don't give a damn about how far they are. If it's cheap enough and it cash flows, they're buying it.
Yeah, but you're speaking to people that have family members back home, and like you guys are speaking to specific.
No. We're talking about people that hire people, Aaron. See, people still have integrity, right? If you hire a property manager, I am trusting the property manager to do their job.
Fine. But in general, most people, when they go to purchase their first piece of property, don't have the type of money to where they can pay somebody to manage that. That cuts into
I
very
agree.
thin margins.
No,
Unless, like I said, if you already get money, this is a
I
waste.
agree.
This is a waste.
here's the
of conversation.
subtraction. Here's the subtraction you're not making. Wanted property manager to live on site. I have a duplex. You will live in one side, and I will subtract part of your earnings from the rent. The thing about property management of one dwelling is that it does not take 168 hours a week. You can have another job and still make sure ain't no holes in this damn wall. You can have another job and make sure ain't no motor oil in my driveway. You can have another job and make sure my rent gets collected and my grass gets cut. And I am going to take half of your rent for that. You're paying half. The half that I take out of your rent plus the rent next door is not the mortgage. That number does not equal the mortgage, which means you are in a state of, if it's even $2, positive cash flow. That's not arguable because that's the facts now. With the world in turmoil, if those facts are wrong, then real estate doesn't work anywhere.
No, we're not arguing your facts. What we're saying is, if I was a 18, 19-year-old kid, right, and I'm only making $40,000, $50,000 a year, buying a property outside of my state may not be a realistic option. But if you talk about I'm Lou uncle who make $500,000 a year, of course that is a realistic option for him to go and hire this property manager and do these different things.
Was he making that kind of money in the 6th grade? No, he started somewhere. If I'm making, here I am, I'm 19, I'm making $45,000 a year. You can put me anywhere.
Nobody's buying a house at 19 though,
Thank
guys.
you.
We're talking about people that are 30 now. Okay, that's the average age. All right.
Okay, so what's their income at 30?
Okay. So let's take it from my side. Okay.
Like 50.
At 28, I was making. Well, I'm still 28 now, but at 28 years old, the most money I've made is $75,000. Me by myself. Let me tell you this, bro, and shout out to the conservative douchebags, right? Shout out to podcast. If you're 28, 30 years old and you're not making at least 100K in America, I don't know what is going on. You are completely insane. Go to Africa. Right? Like a salary less than 100K when you're 30 years old is not something you should be striving for. First of all,
that's crazy. You talking about 99% of the people. 99% of 30 years old not making $75,000.
I'm Anton Daniels right now. I don't care what you guys are talking about. And by the way, if you're with somebody else purchasing a property, you guys better equal 100K together. Okay? Otherwise, don't be in the market at all.
Thank you. Okay, then 95% of people I'm not talking to. I'm talking to
99.
99.
You're talking to 1%.
99. I'm talking to this. I'm talking to the 1%.
Does that make y'all feel better that y'all can speak to us?
No, it doesn't. I'm
audience?
talking to the. Hold on. I'm talking to the 1% mindset that makes $40,000 a year right now. That understands without some Ponzi scheme or running in a bank, you are not going to change your position in 6 months. It's going to take 5 years of positive thinking and positive money in one direction to change where you are. You're fucked right now. Would you like to get unfucked or stay where you are and hope on scratchers? Yes or no? If you telling me, well, everybody can't do this because everybody ain't got no money. Well, I guess you're right and this conversation's over. But if you are telling me that there's someone in that position that wants to get out of it, I'm telling you how.
Well, I'm talking to the other 99%. Okay, we agree that your advice worked for that 1%. Let's give advice to the other 99%.
I just did. That
Okay, hold on.
Lou said that if you're not making $100,000 at 30 years old, Yeah,
Listen,
but because
this is
on, man, we so close.
this
5
is
minutes, so
this is the
close.
number. This is the number you should be striving for. Okay, let's put this conversation to bed. Okay, if you're 28 years old and you're only making 50K, you better get married with someone else that makes 50K. That makes 100K. You should be able to get a duplex. I don't understand what the difficulty is about this conversation. If you're only making $37,000 like I am right now, because I'm on my third job in the last 6 months because of where the industry is, I'm not in the market. I'm surviving. I'm scraping through.
But Lou, you say, hey, a 30-year-old making 50K don't deserve marriage. Not you,
It's
but
not
no. You
What?
shouldn't get married. Hello, I get you because
Oh my
I'm the
fucking-
married guy. I believe in marriage, but the guy that's making 50,000, he don't want to get married. He thinks somebody gonna
That's
take
his
his
problem.
Honda. No,
That's
you
his
like
problem.
so now we said that everybody should get married that's making less than
No,
100K.
no, here's what I'm saying. If you want to be in the market for a property, you
Get
need
married.
2 incomes. This is the market where we are in today. Aaron, I know you're shaking your head. Again, I've closed over 700 property loans in my career. Do you understand how many of those loans were single buyers, people alone on the application? Very few, 10%. Everyone else needs a second person or 3 people. I've seen people buy properties with 4 people on the
4
application.
people, bruh.
So if you guys get a job,
look here, man.
Listen,
Here's
do
your
this.
problem, Lou.
Do this,
Here's-
Unc. Do this, Unc. Get a job for 6 months as a
Hey,
loan processor,
Lou, give me
so you
1
can see
second,
the
Lou.
numbers, and then you're
Bruh,
gonna realize that
no,
we're right.
I see
Guys,
Lou, we on the
1
same
second.
page.
One second.
No. She
That's not
it's
right.
in the back chat. It's in the back chat. Let me read the super chat. In the meantime, Sir James Brown says people come to La La Land because of the weather and the opportunity of Hollywood and tech, because they can flush. I pay $8,000 for a mortgage a month. In January 2024 is my last payment. My home is worth $12 million. Shout out to James Brown. Doing the thing. You have to understand that
Is it
that's
12
LA.
or 1.2? Ask him
I'm
to
way
give
too
me
drunk for
1.2.
this.
I read
Yeah,
12, but it could be 1.2. I don't know.
It has to be 1.2.
It don't
It's
have
probably
to be 1.2. I guess if y'all say so.
I'm betting it's 1.2.
I mean, and that ain't a knock. That ain't a knock. I just
No, it ain't.
So the only point that I'm saying is that if I was a male and I'm single and I'm making 50,000, I could get out of this situation too. That's the only point that I'm saying. I get that y'all saying that we can get married. I can put 4 or 5 people, but it is people who were single. They purchased their first property. They stayed in that property. They turned over some equity in that property, and then they went the duplex process.
Agreed.
So
Agreed. That's a strategy too. Yeah, agreed. If you have the chance to get a single family, and you better make sure that you do it right. Otherwise, you're gonna get wrecked. So you better pray to the industry gods that you get equity on that single family. And then if you get equity, let's say you own 300, and then you get 125 in equity, and you pay that 300 back, then now you can put 20% on the 4 family. Yes, that is a strategy too.
Uncle Jeff,
what we are saying
email in the
is,
back chat?
if you have the chance,
okay.
buy
Hold on
a
just a second.
4-family property off
Gotta clown Nidus first.
the rip, if you can, if that's a possibility. Jesus Christ, Nidus is sleeping.
He praying.
It's winning.
Yeah, I'm about to open up my 5th beer, so y'all hang in there.
Put my
your
email chat.
Yeah,
okay.
Just put your email in the back chat. I got some people trying to reach out to you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, that's fair. These are very fair points. I do think market matters, and I think clearly in this conversation, the markets are clearly dictating a lot of different things. We're moving to a renter's nation at some of the fastest rates. Y'all kind of see that. I think somebody was in the chat talking about the infamous BlackRock and some of their strategies into accelerating that process. It is what it is. That's where we're headed. The majority of people are going to be renters. So the strategies will have to adjust when big money really gets overly involved. and that you guys see that coming. So,
well,
So I want go ahead.
you're talking about, Aaron, and you're right. The calcification of wealth now is like it hasn't been since the ages of since before America, as in England, in Scotland, in other countries that did not have democracy. Countries without democracy and capitalism have this kind of wealth calcification. So there's not much more room to jump. There's not much more time to jump from the renter dock to the owner boat. And I get what you're saying, and you're not wrong. The thing is, you could go to Detroit right now. This is what Anton them low key on and ain't talking about. It's rows of houses you can buy for $10. $10. They're dilapidated pieces of shit that you don't develop. Do you know why? Because in 10 years, they're not going to be dilapidated pieces of shit. They're going to develop the land that you own, and they're going to have to pay you for it. What that's known as is parking. You sit on it. You buy and hold something that don't cost you much and sit on it.
I get it. I get what you're saying, but I don't believe the average person can pay the property taxes for 10 years without making any money off of that property.
Well,
I get it.
No, well, hold on. Sure you can.
Okay.
Sure you can. In depressed areas, there are places where the property taxes are not higher than your income tax return. If I bought one of them places, I would drop my whole income tax return on the tax and keep it moving, because I'm not going to miss that income tax return, because that income tax return was my money to begin with that the government took an interest-free loan on, and I lived without. I can live without it now. I don't have to buy a boat. I don't have to go to some trick-off spot out the country on vacation with this money. I don't have to buy a new car, which is generally the average taxpayer does not invest his income tax return. He spends it. You could take that same money and not buy a new car, not buy another car, not blow it on blank and go, you know what? Screw it. I'm finna knock out the income taxes on this funky dirt, because one day they gonna put a stadium up 5 miles from where my stuff is, and I'm gonna get paid hard. One of my biggest regrets is that I used to own a condo literally 2 miles outside of the Forum, the LA where the Lakers used to play. Literally. Y'all know how y'all see that big donut when you see shots of LA, Randy's Donuts, and you see the big old donut on top of the building? I used to get high, walk over there, buy a donut, and walk back to my condo. I sold it in order to buy a house bigger, further away. Dummy. If I'd have held on to that duplex or that condo right now, I could be Airbnb-ing it for 3 to 5 times the mortgage every month if I'd have just held on to it. And I didn't. It was a mistake. And I'm telling you, if you can buy a piece of property and just sit on it, the property tax is based on the worth of the land. Those property taxes are very low, and they certainly are not your entire income tax return. You just got to look forward money. Most people look at money with a magnifying glass instead of binoculars, bro. They don't use binoculars to look at it. If you look at it.
So hold on, I want to understand, because I'm very familiar with the Airbnb game. So you said that this property that you was paying, let's say $2,000 a month for the duplex, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So no, I don't want to use the duplex example. The place that you get in Detroit. Just say every year you're paying $2,500 for your property taxes, right?
Mm-hmm.
You pay that for $25,000. Take your tax return for the next 10 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
10 years, somebody is going to come in and they're going to offer you what you want to say, 50,000, 100,000 for this land.
No.
Depending
Depending upon the development of over 10 years. Oh, you're gonna definitely first off, before I put a nickel down, I'm gonna get proposals and plans for that particular area. What's going up in this area? I happen to know firsthand that the Detroit is about to be the biggest Chinatown in 10 years outside of Beijing. That the Chinese are buying up Detroit hand over fist. So I know that this property that I buy, maybe it won't be the greatest neighborhood when they get done, but it won't be bullshit when they get done. And my $20,000 adjusted for time and inflation, I'm going to make back hand over fist.
But see, you still talking about a seasoned investor and not a first-time investor.
Well, that would be what I would. No, brother. That's not a seasoned investor. That's not a seasoned investor. That's exactly what I'm telling my 19-year-old to do before she's 21.
But you said your 19-year-old already have a duplex in her name. She would be
no.
seasoned.
She don't. No. I didn't say that, brother. No.
Oh, I'm sorry. I must have misunderstood.
No, my 19, bro. Don't let me. I am not balling like that. No, my 19-year-old lives with a relative that has a huge house. She lives in that house and pays rent. That relative reports her rent through a leasing company as paid on time in order to build her on paper. You see what I'm saying? So that on paper, when she walk in the bank, so you've been living in this house for this long and you've been paying rent on time. You never missed a payment. For 2 years, you have 2 credit cards that are were secured credit cards that were always paid satisfactory. The debt ratio was always less than 20%. And you have how much down? You have $20,000 down because you've saved it. Okay, let's give
Uncle
you
Jeff,
a loan.
I know for a fact I can stay with my mother for 5 years. If I got $20,000, I go into a bank and I've been just paying my credit card on time, the bank don't give me a loan.
Right.
Like if the money makes sense. So I kind of get what you're saying there. I'm just saying in reality, that person being able to pay these property taxes, like a person that's making average income saying that I'm going to pay these property taxes. Because I'm like at 50,000, most of them not getting a tax return, especially if they ain't got no kids, if they ain't got no write-offs, if they just got a job, they're not getting a tax return. So them saying, hey, I got to pay $2,500 and have the foresight in the next 10 years that this is going to be something. I don't think people can stay in that fight that long. Now, I get it's a select group of people who can, but I don't say like me. That makes sense to me. I need to go to Detroit and get a property. $2,500, I'm not going to miss it a year. But I don't see that.
So, you want to go to Detroit and get these properties? That what you're trying to do?
I don't know, man. You lead
Y'all
the way.
don't Anton. Hook up with Anton.
I get it. I get it. Like, so I looked at properties in Detroit. I don't see no properties for $10. I'm looking in the wrong place. I'm going to the wrong websites because I don't see
let me take care of you right now.
They got it for $1. They there, bro. Like I know what he's talking about.
And it's not the house you buying; it's the land.
Yeah, he eventually that land may or may not be. It's a risk. It's an investment. But shout out to Raw B. She says, not the positive black men leading and teaching. Y'all must be the unicorns. We trying to bring some sanity. It's the Eat a Man Takeover show. So he talk about that business over here, and I'm just listening. I don't know no better. Once I start making more than $1,500 a month, I'll be able to really participate in these conversations.
Well, so I believe I don't like long-term renters. I am more of a short-term renter person.
Really? because you want to keep.
You can't look at this.
Worst.
You can't look at this through your eyeballs. As a renter, as a rentor, as a landlord, brother, that's absolutely who you want. Is somebody that's gonna move into your property and stay there for 15 years. You damn right that's who you want.
I don't though. I don't. Listen, I get it. I get your way work for you.
Okay.
It's the less it take the less effort, but I'm just telling you, I have the network that I pump the traveling nurses, for example. If you look at the traveling nurses that come in, and since my place is fully furnished, they're paying, say for example, they're paying 4 times the mortgage, the Airbnb market, the college market, having somebody come in for a semester, hand over fist. I'm making way more money than someone long term. Now, does it require me to work a little bit more? I'm not scared of work. I've been working my whole life. But I just like the short term. Now, don't get me wrong. It is going to get to a point.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't. You mean like, from an Airbnb travel? Hey, bro, you preaching to the choir. I'm trying to buy some property right now that's right outside of where people ski, where they pay money. They pay big money to stay closer. They'll pay medium money 10 miles away. I want that right there. I'll buy that all day.
Like a secret to my Airbnb is I'm right outside the military base. If you know anything about a military bases, when people come into the military bases, they don't have housing. So these people come for 2-3 months. Since I provide internet, I provide furniture, I provide all of these things. They come in, they pay me a big premium to stay in my Airbnb, and then they leave. And it's a circular argument that I don't depend on Airbnb. Airbnb is only 40% of occupancy. I have to do the other 60% occupancy. I'm okay with taking that on as an owner.
That's beautiful.
But I just can't see are we really talking about I got a futon over there? We talking a bed and a TV? I'm willing to furnish this place if I can charge, 200% markup just because this place got furniture, just because that person don't have to do a long-term rent. Sure. And I think it's a market that people don't talk about.
I think you're preaching to the choir. A building I lost in a divorce was exactly that. It was literally right outside of the Van Nuys Airport here in LA. And it was military contractors. It was people coming in, working on a particular aircraft project for 6 to 8 months, and then they gone. And they wanted something turnkey that they didn't want to worry about no roaches crawling in their ear, getting robbed in the parking lot. It was a decent piece of property. And those are excellent. That's excellent. And that's quiet money. That's money that if you don't need, you just ignore that money for 5 years and turn around and buy another one. And then you ignore both of those for 2 years and turn around and buy another. And then you ignore all 3 of those for 2 years and turn around and buy another.
Why do you think most this loan money is old money? Y'all act like young people about to really, really man.
Wait a minute. Why do we do what now?
Like most money, especially when you talk about loan money, is old money for a reason. These young folks gonna blow it. It ain't nothing y'all can tell them that's gonna change that. They gonna blow this money.
It is something we can tell them. See, this is what I tell young people. Young people that in my situation, I say put it towards the principal. I know people don't like it. Hey, you get this money in. I need you to take 10 to 25% to put aside for maintenance and repairs because those things are gonna happen. And I need you to take that other 75%. You still pay your mortgage. And you dump it on your principal. And then if you're going to say if you got a 15-year mortgage, now your 15-year mortgage is going down to 5. Well, if you got a 30-year mortgage, now you're going down to 18, 20 years, maybe a little bit less depending on how much money coming in. So don't sit it in the bank because most young people, I'm going to tell you the truth. If I would have just sat in the bank, I would have spent it. But what you can do is if I'm paying it towards the principal, now I'm saving myself on interest on the back end.
And no, Aaron. brother, what he just told you is finance gospel. It is the reason that money got old you're talking about. That money got old with what he just said. The principle is what determines how long you owe money. And that's how they make money. Whenever if I was living if I had a 40-year mortgage or a 30-year mortgage, and I was living in my home, and I had a job that paid me an income tax return, you could not stop me from taking that income tax return and arguing down with my wife to take her income tax return and throw that shit at the principal of this home. Because if we keep doing this, we won't have a 30-year loan. We'll have a 16-year loan, a 12-year loan. But and if you're asking me to back away from this because most people lack discipline, well, I'm not talking to most people.
No, I'm not asking you to back. I mean, it's a fine strategy. So let me ask you, right? I think it's just depends on the individual. If now if we talk in this current market, 8%, 7% mortgage loan, fine. But if you're talking, you got a rate at 2.5%, 3%. Most people want that cheap debt. Most people want that. You talking about getting rid of it?
You have to earn that cheap debt.
Well, actually,
I earned that cheap debt.
See, you know what makes it different, Aaron? Let me tell you. I know I'm gonna let you make it in just a second. It's when I text Uncle Jeff. Hey, Uncle Jeff, I need you to come over. We having a fish fry. We gonna burn this mortgage. I don't know what y'all do. We gonna have a fish fry. We gonna set this mortgage last payment on fire. So you know, like you don't know the message that sent to me as a child when I seen my grandparents did that. When I seen them, they brought everybody over and they said, we own this house, and they set that thing on fire. That did something in my soul. That taught me that Williams are owners, not through the bank. So it's not all about you paying this off. You send a message to the rest of the family, especially if you got people who look up to you.
Now you have a paid off $375,000 home, right? So you have $375,000 of debt equity?
Nope. I'm going to get a loan. I'm going to get a loan.
Thank you. Thank you. All right then. So like I said, the rate matters. And so like I said, it's strategy. I have no problem with it.
So when I say I'm going to get a loan, but Aaron, when I say I'm going to get a loan, if you got that type of money, so first of all, if I get a loan, I don't have to pay taxes. I can get $350,000 from the government. Say I ain't got to pay nothing on.
I know I get it.
Okay, but what you should be doing is say, hey, I see that duplex up the street that's selling for $450,000. What if I put $350,000 down, or maybe $250,000 because you want to keep $100,000, whatever, and then I just get now only owe 50% on that 15-year mortgage. How about I rinse and repeat and I do it again? Then we have another fish fry.
Man, I'm not. Listen,
I know you can't see yourself eating that much fish, huh, Aaron?
Go ahead, Uncle Jeff. I didn't hear you.
You can't see yourself eating that much fish? I'm gonna tell you what, bro. I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you right now, Aaron. And this is not a brag. This is the truth. The stuff that most people go and buy, I can get a business to give me. I can walk into Hornburg Jaguar tomorrow and they'll give me a Range Rover. No money down, and I can walk out with it. Why? Because I didn't spend my money to buy one. If I had spent my money to buy one like everybody else, instead of property, instead of other things, instead of businesses, so I'm going in here to lease this vehicle for a business, I wouldn't be in that position. But because I can and I don't, I am. If you saw the truck I drive a Isuzu Trooper. I drive a truck. I have pink slips, not payments, because I don't believe in making payments on depreciating liabilities. It doesn't make sense. And it's
all strategy.
Until you can get no, this strategy sucks. I need niggas to envy me at the stoplight more than I do owning property. That strategy sucks. I need people to go yell ooh and ah as I jump from my car when I walk out into the club. That strategy sucks. I need niggas to envy my watch. That strategy sucks.
Oh no, I'm getting a rolling, Uncle Jeff. That's all.
Okay. Well, handle your business, handle your scandal like a vandal. I'm not telling you what you did. I'm telling you what my family members that routinely call me to borrow money. That's how they think about money. If I thought about money like them and they thought about money like me, I'd be calling them.
Yeah, fair enough. Look, yeah, I'm not arguing with that, but all this pay the house off and then go get another loan on it. It's like that rate better been better than the one you got in 2014. So
there's a question in the chat. You're driving a Suzu Trooper, but you can walk in the Range Rover and they will give you one tomorrow. Because I'm not going to walk in as Jeff Brown. I'm trying to trade in this Isuzu Trooper. I'm going to walk in and go, hi, I need to buy a vehicle for my business. Or I need to lease a vehicle for my business. If the vehicle is over 6,000 pounds, I get to write off everything I spend on that vehicle for the first year.
Yeah,
so you talk about doubling and tripling up whenever I can on the lease, if I can. And if I can't double or triple up on the lease, then I'm not supposed to be driving this car. So and I need to be honest about the car.
Y'all talking to rich people on this. That rich people talk. I can't.
How you think I got there, Aaron? I'm not rich
yet. Here with y'all. I barely can survive. Shoot.
Why? Does this not make sense to you? What are we saying that doesn't make sense?
It sounds like this is one sure way to make a lot of money. Is just we're starting out. Me and a lot of the homies in the chat. We're starting at such lower levels. It's quite. It's a lot to.
You can build wealth. You can build wealth with $1.
So, but I got a question. Just 1 second before
$1.
Yes.
Okay, hold on 1 second. All right. So I'm saying I just had this fish fry, and I've been holding it down for the last 5 to 7 years. You said that I shouldn't walk into that car lot and I shouldn't buy that $50,000 car in cash.
Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking you.
I'm telling you that going to buy a brand new car, $50,000 cash, the second stupidest thing is to set that money on fire, especially if you like new cars. Because if you like new cars, Eda Man, you can lease that same car to Eda Man Property Management Limited, write off everything to deal with that Range Rover. And in 2 years or 3 years, when the lease is up, depending upon what you got, you can walk in there with $2,500, get in the keys, and they'll give you another brand new Rover to ride around in.
I got a question. Is a fish fry like bass or sole or orange roughy?
If you in the South, it's catfish. I'm telling you straight up. You go eat some catfish. That's
you what you go get. Some catfish, bro.
You better get you some hush puppies.
So yes, let's get back to the bad idea it is to take that $50,000 and buy anything other than another piece of property or make an investment that pays you.
Well, so I think it comes down to I believe in rewarding yourself, right?
Sure.
Like, so I kind of get what you. So it's two different types of write-offs. I get the lease way of writing it off, and my business can outright buy vehicles too, and it's a different type of calculation, right? I'm big for like this year. I know that I'm being in a situation that if I want to change my tax brackets, I'm gonna have to spend some money. It is what it is.
Absolutely.
And so like I understand when a person says, hey, I need to buy this G-Wagon. I'm gonna walk in here and get this G-Wagon, and I'm gonna pay cash for this G-Wagon just so I can be able to prove that I'm keep my income where I want my income to be. I typically don't have that option with a lease because a lease is more of a slow over the year process than me making a decision at the end of the year.
Oh, bruh, Magic Johnson used to walk into West Angeles Church of God in Christ right here in LA. And on New Year's Eve, I saw this with my own eyes for 5 years straight. He would donate $1 million to that church on December 31st. Why the hell you think he's doing that? He needs somewhere to dump $1 million.
Well, let's go back to that leasing
Love
idea.
the Lord.
So you said the first year you can write everything off on that lease for the car. How long you gonna lease the car, Uncle Jeff?
I'm leasing the car generally 1 to 3 years. Let's see.
So 1 to 3 years, right?
Vehicle.
I'll use it as another
It's
source
usually
of income.
24 months. It's usually 24 months.
24 to 36.
So let's say you write off everything that first year, right? I don't know. What happens after the lease is done? Then you no longer have a vehicle.
No, that's not true.
No?
When the lease is done, I walk in to the dealership.
Gotcha.
They give you an option
with
to buy.
$2,500, and I trade keys, and I come out with something new because I like new cars. But to buy a new car, here's the problem with it. If you buy a $60,000 car for $50,000, congratulations. You only lost $6,000 when it left the lot. The same $6,000 you're gonna leave if you lend it.
This is crazy.
I think you're wrong today. Just hear me out.
Okay.
Today, used cars are selling more than what they're worth because it's such a small portion of them. So, for example, what we're seeing now is like cars are actually holding their value because there's not a lot of used cars on the market. So if I bought this car,
so like Scat Packs and Hellcats and stuff like that.
You said a used car. I thought you said a new car.
No, so say for example, if I bought a brand new car, $50,000, and I drove it for a year, it is rare that year I can sell that car for roughly what it was worth, just because it's not enough used cars on the market.
The scarcity of the vehicles.
Yeah, so that was true maybe 5 or 10 years ago, but I'm seeing people who bought a Tesla out cash and they're selling their Tesla for more than they actually paid for it a year later because there's not enough Teslas on the market. And most people got to wait 6 months for a Tesla, and you telling them that they can get the warranty, everything transferred over to their name. People are spending money for those used car vehicles. And that's not every car. I'm not talking about the Kias, but it's certain cars that are holding their value because it's such a limited quality of those cars. But that's making the right decisions.
So, for example, like Dodge, right? So, like Chargers, Scat Packs, Hellcat.
What about those cars?
No, I'm saying like they're holding. I want to say I used to work at a dealership. Like if a guy come in and trade in his 2022 or 2021 Scat Pack, right? Say if it's a wide body, it'll still when they put it back on when they list it back up on the market, it'd be around like, say if he got it for like 65, it'll probably be around like 55, something like that, 54. I'm
like, you can look up. You can look it up right now. Like I'm seeing, I can't speak for the Scat Pack, but I done seen a person buy a Tesla and resell it for a 10 to 50% markup just because the person who want the car don't want to wait 6 months for it to be developed. Like, because Tesla, you can't just walk to. People don't know you can't walk into a Tesla dealership and just say, "Hey, I want a Tesla." No, you got to order it, and it take time. And some people will pay for that convenience of getting there early, which helps you make a lot of money doing it.
Well, something American Negro put in the chat. I'm going to say this. I'm going to get out y'all face. That make a lot of sense. There's a difference between Hellcats, Scat Packs, and Teslas. Hellcats and Scat Packs are what Cadillac Escalades were for a while. The official nigga do good mobile. Those cars over time usually do not hold their value because of the individuals they appealed to. The Tesla is a whole different kettle of fish. So and again, guys, I'm not saying that the way I learned about money and the hard knocks I took and the stuff that worked for me is for everybody. It isn't. It's just that the people who taught me and the people I see do it for, again, were it not for marriage and divorce, bruh, I'd be a multimillionaire right now doing this same shit. Or excuse me, I'm sorry, I swore. This same stuff, because I'm not talking about something I haven't seen with my own eyes. I got into it doing something I call bird dogging, which is
I know
where,
bird dog.
yeah, I used to bird dog, man.
That was my job in the military. I was doing 35 cars. I was doing 35 cars a month, bird dogging.
Bird dogging. I was doing that with property.
Yeah, I was about to say you can do that with investments, right?
Yes, and these people I was doing it for, bruh.
I mean,
was
real
lighting
estate, my bad.
cigars with $100 bills. These people had bread, and this is exactly what they were doing. And they would, and the dude who taught me this was like, young man, everybody young, you need to tell them to do this, because this is just playing Monopoly for real. That's all it is, and it really, really works. There's no secret to it. The thing is, you have to change how you look at money. And that's hard for us as Black people, because we have always been taught to work really hard for it for 5 days and then burn it on the weekend and come back Monday. We were never taught that there are certain places you can put money in the dark, and when you come back, there's more money. We weren't taught that. So we take money at face value. All I'm saying is, whatever you do, especially if you broke, you are the last person to take money at face value. You're the last one. You spending your few dollars you got, wrong. And if you can afford to live, you can afford to live better if you just change your thinking. That's all I'm saying.
So to refresh my memory on bird dogging, ain't that like a rinse and repeat kind of system, if I'm not mistaken? Like execution style?
I'll say what mine was on my way out of here, and then either man, you kind of correct me where I'm wrong, or if you're okay. Bird dogging is where in real estate, I'm a rich man.
Oh, you go get the property.
I'm rich, and I got multiple investments. I got multiple things I'm looking at, but I want to keep my real estate cooking on the back burner. I'm not finna stop these board meetings and business meetings to comb and look for deals. I'm not finna go out and get in my car and drive out to these dusty ass places and look at these dilapidated ass properties and try to decide, get a hold of city planning and see what's going to happen in 5 years according to the city. It may not, but the city has plans to put a park over here. The city has plans to put a gym over here. The city has plans to put up 15 houses or a housing development over here or over there. I don't have time for that shit. I'm rich. So I'll pay you. You get it all together. You sew the deal up, and I'll pay you a percentage of each deal to do that. And it's back-breaking, thankless ass, out in the hot sun, sweaty damn work. But what you get for doing it is an extreme education on how city planning works, where real estate goes up, who has what money, from bird dogging.
Oh,
and
so
I'm doing this for millionaires, bro, and they were making and breaking me off. I wasn't mad with what I was making per deal. I would make some decent money. My shoes was run over from all the work I was doing. But when the deals would come in, sometimes them deals, I would hook up 3-4 deals, and I wouldn't see them come to fruition for 6 months. But 6 months later, oh, hey man, here's $50,000 from them all together from them 7 deals you did. That's how it would happen. And then I didn't do nothing stupid with the money.
So I was thinking of so I got the two terms mixed up. So I was talking about bird method, right? You familiar with that? when it comes to like I want to say rinse and repeating when you investing into like rental properties, right? So I think it's called Bird Method, but this is Bird Dog. I remember this concept. I just got the two mixed up.
No, so tell us what that is, because I'm curious to see what you're trying to say.
What, like Bird Method?
Yeah.
No, but he means buy, rent.
Flipping bird.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, I don't know if I
Not that
said it
one.
wrong.
Yeah, the way he's saying the so-called acronym is just sounds a little,
Yeah. So in the car lot world, so I was in the military, and the car lot goal was that they needed to sell a car, and I had access to soldiers that need the car. So if I actually take a soldier to the car lot and he purchased a car, I would get paid $300 for that soldier getting a car.
Okay.
I literally would get paid $300 for giving you a ride. And that was my job in the military. So I was doing like 30, 35 deals a month. I mean, and I would just pick people up. Soldiers get to the military, they get off the bus. Hey, I'm a private. They qualify for a car. Hey, you trying to get a car? Hey, it's my responsibility to make sure you get a good deal. So when I first started doing it, I really wasn't doing it to make money. I just was tired of so many soldiers getting in contracts it just wasn't favorable for the soldier. And then someone pulled me to the side. He said, they paid $300 a referral. And then we just made it into a whole business in the car lot world.
Well,
that makes perfect sense.
Smart guy.
That makes perfect. Hear what you do. You go, look, hey man, you just got to the base. What's your favorite color? You need a car? I'll be right back. And come back with a car that color. So
and then the great part about it was that when you bird dog for the car lot that I was working for, it was South Tacoma Mazda. Once they signed the paper, he pulled out $300 out of his pocket and pay you right then and there in cash. Imagine you did 7 of those in a day. You good.
Oh yeah.
And so we got so good is that, and I put like one of the NCOs on, and he gave me a bus. We had a whole bus.
The man listening to Uncle Jeff spew this nonsense that he's been spewing all day makes me think of one video that I want to play for the people. Okay, people, listen up. Okay, because sometimes y'all listen to Uncle Jeff and y'all like, man, Uncle Jeff, what you talking about, Willis? This is what Uncle Jeff is talking about ultimately. Okay, take a listen here.
Back in the 1980s, the average household would spend only 18% on rent or housing, only 1% on student loans because it was so cheap to go to college, and then 0% on technology because we didn't have it really yet. But today, the average household is spending 32% of their money on housing, 8% on student loans, and 3% on technology, cell phones, internet for the family. So I want you to picture yourself back in the 80s, sitting down with your family of 4, and at the end of the month, you have your paycheck. Only 19% of it was going to housing and college, and you got to keep 81% to now start your life for food, school supplies, savings, etc. Where today, we're giving 43% away right off the top and only left with 57%. So this clearly shows that the housing, the college, and the cost of living in general is making it harder for people today than it was back in the 80s. And that's why you see the middle class disappearing. How far are we going to let this number go down? To 20% where people can't even live? There has to be a change made because things are going in the wrong direction. It's back in the 19.
That's all I hear with Uncle Jeff speaking. That's it.
Okay. Well, then if that's all you hear, then you're right. You guys are doomed. I'm sorry, I was wrong. Next.
So Aaron,
you're doomed.
Did you still want me to break down the 3 months of my Airbnb or no?
Yeah, I mean they need to see some, like, because Uncle Jeff is like when I was here in 1800s, we was getting houses for like 1 penny, and he trying to
no, that's not what Uncle Jeff said. Okay, let's pretend that's exactly what. Well, I'm responsible for what I say. I'm responsible for what I mean. We're responsible for what I say. So let me say this. You're exactly right. Let's just say I said 110% of that. That's what I said. Houses were a penny and I had $1,200. Like, okay, or whatever hyperbole you want to use for the 80s. My daughter is 19 now. My daughter has 2 credit cards that are secured in her name now. My daughter has rent in a relative's house that's being reported as paid on time now. My daughter is paying into the bank of her now. My daughter is going to buy her first car cash now. In the now, my daughter is setting herself up for financial independence in the future. And that has nothing to do with whether houses are or were a penny when I was young. My daughter is buying her food in bulk now. My daughter is saving her money now. If you are trying to find a way to go onto a car lot to put your money into a depreciating liability now, you're a fool. If you are going, it's a foolish move. You don't buy a car. The bank buys you. It's really that simple.
You're just so wrong. Like my friend, okay. the reason I just disagree, I disagree with you is because if you look at the game now, like my friend, he owns 6 cars and they rent them out like just like you see a Renterprise. They have apps
like
out there,
Turo.
Like Turo that he can make it.
Okay, one of my sons has 3 Turo cars. That's not the same thing. That's apples and bowling balls.
I get what you're saying. I get you saying that it's just when you make that blanket statement that, hey, buying a car at a car lot is a bad idea.
It's stupid. It's not because that you're being disingenuous, either, man. Most people who buy cars don't put them on Turo.
But you said earlier we're not talking about most people.
Yes,
we're talking
exactly.
about the top 1%.
No, I'm not talking about the top 1%. I'm talking about the top 1% thinkers. And I'm not going to tell my daughter the same advice that one of her older brothers who's in his mid-30s is doing. She's 19. You are not supposed to go buy a $75,000 car and hope you can rent it. No. You buy your first car cash. You pay the bank of you what would be a car note for 2 years. You take that money minus any maintenance fees, add it to what your car's worth, and now go buy a more expensive car, cash, and keep the same thing going. And in 5 years, you will be buying a car that was worth 3 to 4 times what the first car was worth, and you haven't paid a nickel of interest. You haven't been late on one payment. And in all that time, you had a pink slip that you could take somewhere, sell the car, and turn it into cash if you needed to. You cannot do that with the car you just bought involving a dealership and the bank, because you don't own that car. If you want to see who owned that car, miss 2 payments, and the owner will come get it. I would never tell my daughter at 19 to get into that situation. It's foolish. You should be building your self on paper so you can buy real estate. They call it real estate because it's real. That's what I would tell her. And I don't know how to back up. I don't know where that's wrong.
I get it, but it's the same method that you were saying earlier. You said, hey, money comes from making chances. And just like you betting on renting that house out, or that duplex out, you betting on getting that car rented out. I mean, it's like, it's just all about.
No, that's not fair. That's not true.
I get what you're saying. This is what worked for you, but I don't think we can knock someone else hustle, because I get it. Buying a car for $75,000.
I'm not. I just told you. I have an older son that has 3 Turo cars, but he's been following my advice for over a decade. She's 19. I'm not going to tell a 19-year-old to try to Turo a car, because it's not first on your list. First on your list is establishing yourself on paper before you are 21 years old. That's what's first. I don't give a damn what you look like riding around in a car. I don't give a shit about your social life. I don't give a shit that niggas envy you at the light, because ain't nobody supposed to be envying your young ass. You supposed to be working.
I get it. So I'm just saying, a Turo car that one of my friends are looking at is $7,000. Is you saying that him buying that $7,000 is not a good investment when he can go buy a $300,000 house?
Okay, when you say the Turo car is $7,000, what do you mean? There's a new car that costs $7,000?
You don't have to have a new car. I think with Turo rules right now, it have to be a 2016 or newer.
Okay. Before I would tell my daughter to get into a car business or the business of dealing with Turo, because that's not in her lane right now, I would tell her, because those aren't the cars my son buys. My son buys Hellcats. He got a couple Hellcats and another car. I don't know what the newest one is, but he got them out there rolling, making his bread. I'm not going to tell, he's 30-something with good credit, with good established credit over an extended period of time. He's doing that. I'm not telling her to do that. I'm telling her to establish your credit. I'm telling her, look, when you get ready to buy a car, you come up with half the money. I got the other half. Let's go get you a car. I'm not buying you a car like somebody said you need to buy that girl a car. No, I don't. I need to teach her how money works.
Yeah, I got it. Like I get it. Like I said, I'm in the real estate game, so I'm not arguing that shouldn't happen. But I think that if I had my little brother just turned, I think, 20, right? And I know that he have saved up maybe $40,000. Him buying it's 2011. I looked it up. Him buying a 2011 car, getting it in rotation in Turo is a way that he can make, a couple $100 a month to be able to save up for his first property, because he don't qualify for that first property. Okay. I'm not saying that. So I get it. I'm just giving you a different perspective, because absolutely. When we heard in the past that a car was a bad deal, we couldn't make money on cars. Turo, all these are very new concepts when it comes down to making money. So I'm just saying, in 2023, we have to evolve in the way that we think, because now since we're in a gig economy, it's a different market, and a lot of companies are going to direct to consumer models.
You just don't want to listen to the OGs. Yeah, you young people hard-headed, and y'all don't know how to listen to the OGs. They've been here before. They've been here playing on these cell phones 30 years before cell phones was here. They've been doing this.
Well, more than 30 years before the cell phone, Aaron. If you go back thousands of years, if you take a trip, I encourage you to take a trip and take the Giza pyramid tours. You will see what is clearly on the walls of an Egyptian cave, a cell phone. Anyway, what I'm saying about what Edaman is telling me, I'm not eschewing his information. I'm not throwing his information out. I'm not saying he's wrong, because, again, I'm not super versed on Turo. Here's what I know about Turo: that the people who my son and his friends deal with, these dudes is ballers that come in out of town and don't want to rent a regular car. One of his friends is a football player that rents Ferraris with Turo, that rents super high-end cars. So I didn't, sure, maybe there's a lower end mathematics for my daughter to deal with. And I'm not above her dealing with that if somebody can bring it to me and make it make sense to me. But you can't tell me what I'm doing don't make sense. There are 100 things that make sense.
Aaron, please tell her what we was. We was gangs. We was all gangs. All of us. We was gangs.
Okay, and let's do away with that cartoon for a second. I'm not one of those people who believe that all black people was kings. Okay, we built the pyramids. Somebody had to carry the sand. And these niggas that think flossing at the light is cool, that's their ancestors. I'm not having my daughter flossing at no damn light without her credit straight. No, I'm not. I'm not buying her first car cash out where I'm the only one buy it. She gonna have some skin in the game. Those things make sense to me. Now, does
I agree
on the lower level make sense? Sure, but I didn't know. I wasn't exposed to it on the lower level.
I agree to what you said because I remember, I'll never forget it, 85 box cutlass 4-door. It was $1,400. I remember when I went, the dude told me he couldn't sell it to me because I was only 15. So I had to take my mama. I took my money from cutting grass because back in the day, I know people used to cut grass. It was out of cutting grass. Cut grass, had my little $1,400, and I bought my car. I don't think we're supposed to give kids everything. I'm just the whole conversation that I was having is that what worked in the past is different from now because it's a new set of rules. But I want to put the emphasis that what worked in the past still works. I'm not saying that real estate doesn't work. I'm not saying stand down for 10 years, invest and still work. I'm just saying that there's new opportunities because the world have really changed with technology. And that was the point that I was making.
Oh, sure. Last question. How good did that money feel, Eden Man, when you had 1,100 saved and you was walking toward it with that last 300 goddamn dollars?
That felt good. Let me tell you, it felt so good. Like I had to remember where I was at because I was talking junk to everybody. I was like, nigga, you broke. I only had $1,100. I was like, you broke. I need this $1,100. I was so excited. It was an ego boost, definitely, 100%.
Yep, Arnie. Yeah.
So I do want to get into the short term. So the biggest thing that I tell people is this right here. When it comes down to the short term rentals, I really love, this is one of my favorite investments now, is a single family home with a mother-in-law suite. A single family home.
What does that mean?
I'm glad you asked that question. So a mother-in-law suite is not quite a duplex. It's not going to be listed under a multifamily unit. Typically what a mother-in-law suite was, is say if your mother-in-law, father-in-law, a family member would come into town, they would have their separate kitchen, separate bathroom. They have their separate everything where they can be able to go live aside from you, but still be able to come in to be close enough to the family. You know, like those in-laws you don't like, you don't want them in your space. A mother-in-law suite is good for that. That kind of makes sense, Aaron?
Yeah, you talk about my southern relatives. Gotcha.
Slave quarters for the mama-in-law.
Yeah, you call it whatever you want to call it. I love them. You can call it slave quarters, you can call it whatever. But I love these because these typically are not listed in multi-family units. So a lot of people miss over them. They don't look over them. And this was one of the Airbnbs that I had. I was anti getting a big house. Me and my wife had this conversation. She was like, we need a bigger house. I was like, hey, some kids need to start sharing some rooms. Matter of fact, if you want to, I'll move in.
Bunk them.
I was like, hey, we can do some bunk beds. You want me to move over there? I go sleep in the kids' room. So you have more space. But I was anti getting a bigger house. Like, because just because we was making more money, I didn't want to get a bigger house just to be keeping up with the Joneses, right? Because a bigger house equals bigger mortgage, equals bigger problem, equals a whole bunch of stuff that I don't want.
More space to heat, more space to cool.
Yeah, then on top of that, you talk about all your bills go. So my first house, I think, was like 2,000 square feet. And my wife was looking at, she wanted to go to like this house that we in now is like 3,500, maybe 4,000 square feet. So you're talking about double the light bill, double this. This is what my mind was thinking. It might not have been exactly double, but I was against it. And then once we really, the good thing is, once I was against it, I love that it was my wife to show me how could we make it profitable and make sense for us to do it. So I'm against it. I don't want to talk about it. That's just who I was, a little stubborn. She went back to the drawing board and said, how can I get what I want, but still make sure that he makes the money and make the numbers make sense? And then that's when we start looking into an Airbnb, the Airbnb from the mother-in-law suite. So we got the bigger house, but the Airbnb, not the Airbnb, the mother-in-law suite was supposed to be designed to be able to make up the difference, if not more than the difference of the money that it was different from our first house to our second house. So that's kind of what the compromise was, that we was able to make some more money. I'm down for making more money. She knew I'm willing to have the conversation to make more money, but she get, you know, her own floor. Like we got an adult floor versus the kids floor, and it's a 3-level house. So we got the where everybody to live at. We got the kids floor, and we got the adult floor at the bottom. But I had to be able to make that money up, and I'm gonna show you guys how I make that up with the Airbnb, if that makes sense.
You put the adult floor on the bottom.
Yep.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
So like,
how you gonna sneak your ass in here or sneak anybody else? The adults on the bottom floor.
I believe in cameras. So if
Uncle
you don't want
Jeff
to be
is
watching,
like a freaking totalitarian. He a dictator. He want to control everything.
I am a benevolent dictator, which means things go great as long as you don't piss off the king.
I believe in cameras. Now I know people don't.
Please tell her what we was. We was gangs. We was all gangs. All of us. We was gangs.
So I believe in cameras. I believe that if you don't want me watching you, it's like, then you can move out my house.
Yeah,
I know that's crazy as that sound. Like you
the
always
whole world is open to you. Okay, here are the rules for living in my house above a certain age. Number one, ain't nobody screwing in here but me and my wife. You want someplace to screw? Screwing is for people who got their feces collected, because the chances are when you screw that you can make another you, and you ain't prepared for that. So you can screw, but it ain't gonna be here. That's rule number one right here. If you staying with me, you're not screwing in here as my child. No, you're not. No,
I don't know whether to explore that with more options. Like children are going to be curious. Should they go to more dangerous environments because they want to explore and have fun and enjoy them lives and doing risky things because that's what young people do? Or should they do it in a safe environment where they actually know the people there? It's a really interesting dynamic.
Okay, well, let me take all the interest out of it for you.
Sure.
There's no such thing as being in the wrong time, in the right place. There's no right time to be in the wrong place. Now, you can do what you want to do. I'm not telling you what not to do. I'm not telling you that if you got the itch, if your cooter is gnawing on your leg, if you got the itch to go screw, I'm not telling you to go screw in a crack house. I'm not telling you to go screw in a trap house. You and that young man pot up and get you a nice room for the weekend. But you ain't doing it in my daddy's house. We're not doing
Well, let me ask you a question, because I don't know if you heard my ideology.
Wait. Do you? Yeah, go ahead. I know where you're gonna go. Go ahead.
So my ideology is this right here: is that I believe that my kid should stay with me for as long as possible, right?
Sure.
So if my daughter was to get married to a man, I am okay with them moving into my mother-in-law suite or moving into her floor.
Absolutely.
Inside of that. So are you also saying that she would not be able to have sexual relations with her husband?
No, I'm not. Because you brought up marriage. Marriage is different than having fun in areas that are less than dangerous, which is what I believe Aaron brought up. That sounds there, maybe the same thing, but it sounds a little different. You brought matrimony up, which means family planning, which means future forward movement, which means I approve of it. Hold on a second.
Don't
Absolutely, it could mean anything horrible, Aaron. Right now, I'm not talking horrible. If you could hold your horrible thoughts till I'm done, then we can add those to this. I am saying what you said about my daughter moving into my house with her husband as a young couple. You damn right. Because if she married that dude and I vouch for him enough to move into my house, oh, this young man got plans and he got hustle. He got game. I done seen it already because I want my family line to follow him. So yes, you can move in here. You can have the baby upstairs in the bathtub. Now, Ray, this fool you just met at the skate, no, I am not doing that. That is apples and bowling balls. Now, Aaron, insert your catastrophe, Uncle Jeff is way wrong, sarcastic shit right here.
Look, Uncle Jeff, as long as you modeling the characteristics that you want to hold somebody up to, that's fair. But if you was at 19 smashing chicks, doing things that were not that you would deem as respectable for somebody else to, you can hold those principles. But to think you should hold somebody to a standard that you wouldn't even hold yourself to me is ridiculous.
Okay, well then let's talk about Uncle Jeff at 19.
No, listen.
Okay.
We're speaking in general.
No, you brought that if up, brother. You said
no,
if
I
wasn't, did you
Jeff.
not? Yeah, wait a whoa. Did you not just say if you were doing the same things at 19?
Yes.
Well, who were you talking about?
We're speaking in general about if somebody was moving their daughters in, etc., their sons in general. We were not talking about your life. Unless you want to, which you can.
Yeah, let's talk about my life for a second.
Go ahead.
Because at 19, I was 3,000 miles away from where I grew up. I was a Marine. And when I got the itch to do what I wanted to do, I couldn't do it in the barracks. I lived in the barracks. So you know what I did? I potted up with the girl I knew, the girl I wanted to get down with. And either I rented a room or I did like me and my homies did. We went in together and rented an apartment off the base. And we went literally through the days of the month. This is your day to have the apartment. It ain't your apartment, but 8 days or 9 days a month.
I got you.
There are ways around it, bro. But
I got you.
Opening my house up to teenagers so they can screw in it because there's more dangerous places to screw. Bullshit.
No. That's fine. As long as your daughter get to go to the military, that's fine.
No, my daughter doesn't have to go to the military.
No, that's an option though.
What do you mean? No, it isn't.
It is because you are the standard. If you said you went to the military, then she gets to go to the military. You're not holding
that's only if you write with a big crayon. Because if you use a nuanced crayon, what I was saying is that at 19, I was financially responsible for myself on that level. She needs to be financially responsible for herself on a level at 19 years old that if she lives in my house and she has the itch to have sex, that she doesn't have it here, but she picks someplace safe.
No, I said, so if she decide, hey, Dad, I'm going to the military, then you just gonna let it go. I get it.
Say again?
If she tell you, Dad, I'm going to the military, you're gonna be like, I went to the military too, so it is what it is.
No, actually, I've already told her there's nothing she can learn from the military.
Right. The point of it is,
please get to that.
The point of it is what you did with your life when you were in the military at 19, it is what it is. If she wants to go to the military, you gonna tell her she can't do what she want to do.
No, I'm gonna tell her, like I told her already, you can join the army, get pregnant, or rob a liquor store. And I can't stop you from doing either the three of those, but you can't say that you wasn't told. You can't get into the military and go, Dad, they got us over here and we got to write back to you for supplies because the government isn't giving me any. Dad, I got out of here and now I got this lump growing on my neck. Come to find out, it's because I was on a base with shitty water. Dad, you can't say none of that because I told you not to be screwing with them people, that you can become financially independent without it because I did that already. It's exactly what I told her. And if you were to talk to her, she'd tell you the same thing. But she has no interest in joining the military. She could. I can't stop her. I didn't say I could stop her, but I'm going to give her the absolute best advice I can, which is if you are going to be sexually active, you need to be 360 degrees responsible. And part of that responsibility is finding a clean, quiet, dry, safe place to screw that's not my house.
For the sake of eBay getting to his point,
I love gold.
So yeah, no, I think it's parameters. Yeah, it's parameters. Sex. Can y'all still hear me? Did I go ghost?
No, like your audio dropped for a minute. Now you're okay. Now you're back. Go ahead. Now you're back.
All right. So what I was saying is that if I'm paying rent, because a lot of these young people paying their mama, they paying their daddy rent. So if I'm at Uncle Jeff's house and I'm paying Uncle Jeff $800 a month, he can't tell me where I'm putting my dick at. That's just my reality. But if I'm staying for free, I gotta follow the rules of Uncle Jeff.
Wait a minute.
If you're not paying market rate, bro, the rules is different.
Okay.
Come
I'll
on.
Go pay
Okay,
market rate if you want to make
shit.
your own rules.
Get him, Arnold. Get him.
No,
You're
that
paying market rate,
ain't
you don't
got
make your own
nothing to
rules.
do with it.
Look here. I don't care if you paying all the damn rent. Stop paying the rent. Move out. Here's the rules. You ain't gonna tell me that you gave me $800 and then you finna screw. Okay. Well, guess what? I'm gonna let my dogs in that room, and my dogs know you. They don't know that heifer. Go on. Do what you're doing. This is my house. You're not screwing in my house. Me and my wife screw in here. And unless we having an orgy, which we wouldn't invite you to, we the only ones screwing in here. That's it.
Aaron, you need that Lapeef sounder. What are you talking about?
Hey, listen, I ain't mad at Uncle Jeff. She's just gonna do it behind your back with Lil Ray Ray. It is what it is.
Okay, well, as long as her and Lil Ray Ray got the money to go do it, well, hopefully, I've set the bar high enough for her so she don't mess around with no Lil Ray Rays. Maybe, hopefully, I'd like to say her boyfriend now is not a Lil Ray Ray.
I get it. I just can't imagine a parent taking somebody's money. I get it. I get it if they stand there for free, right? But I can't imagine. Let's say it is market rate, depending on the city you at. But if you charging this person what you would be charging a roommate, just because that person came from you, that doesn't give you the right to change up the rules. Like if they paying roommate prices, your mortgage is $1,000, and they spending $800 on your mortgage, making sure that you in a good spot. You just can't say that they can't have sex. Now, it can be disrespectful. I'm not talking about they can bring somebody home from the club to be screwing. I'm not saying that, but if that's her boyfriend that they kicking it, you can't go in there being mad that she getting some penis from that one that you like.
Well, let's thank God that that's not my particular scenario. I'm not saying that don't happen. Let's thank the Lord that I don't need my children to make up 80% of my monthly nut. And maybe just maybe it might have something to do with this horrible advice I've been putting out the whole damn show. Could be that.
Go ahead.
But the point is that if you have to live with me, and not you, I'm not talking about you and your husband. I'm talking about your single ass. If your single ass got to live with me, sex need to be way down on your list of priorities.
But I'm not saying that they need to live with you. See, and this is what I see in other communities, right? I know Asian people who their sons are engineers. They don't need to live. If I can tell you this right here, these Asians are clapping cheeks in their daddy house. Matter of fact, he paying the daddy mortgage. The daddy done retired 10 years early, and the daddy just accepted that this person is grown now. This is an adult. He's an engineer, and his plan is that we want him to buy a house in cash in the next 4 years. It's better for him to be here. I'm not going to get in my ego and say, son, you need to go out because you clapping the cheeks, because it does not follow the family plan on where we're going. That's the whole point.
Jesus, what a pretzeling of my logic. If I have a son that is living with me that is already an engineer, that means he's already accomplished the kind of stuff that Cooter gets in the way of. He somehow figured out how to get to being an engineer without Cooter getting in his way. Now let's subtract 10 years from that or 5 years from that. And he's now living in my house, knocking broads off. Whoops, somebody peeing on a stick. I guess that's a weird, this happens. This doesn't happen very often, and I'm coming out of nowhere with it. But there are people who are cool with their kids screwing in their house, and then they can't believe it when they wind up with more kids. They don't have any idea where that came from. I'm talking about that, either man. I am not talking about the traditional families who like Greek families, who like Korean families, who will have adult professionals living at home with them. That's not what I'm talking about. I am talking about the common middle class black, well, they just gonna do it somewhere else scenario, and you wind up with a grandson or daughter before your child gets a chance to develop their own lives. That happens 3 or 4 times. Maybe we've heard of that, maybe.
Yes, because I want to move on because ultimately I get your point. Thank you, Uncle Jeff. Ultimately, I get your point, Uncle Jeff. But if you're saying that they get somebody pregnant outside of your home, it's no different than getting them pregnant in your home. It's just you feel like you didn't let them do it in front of you. I don't think there's a difference of that outcome.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's get back to it because I think it's about time to land this thing. We appreciate y'all guys rocking out with us this long. But I want to get to it. So I think it's a secret that a lot of people don't even think about. They don't even consider it. Finding a property that have a mother-in-law suite or a property on it that might not have its own address, but it's a different property, right? So what I think is this gives you the ability to have the house that you want, because what people are not talking about in these duplexes is you uncomfortable. If you're a family of 4 or 5, this duplex is typically small. You talking 1,500 square feet. Y'all are kind of on top of each other. That's just reality. And I get it. It sounds good. It's cool. Be down for 5 years and be uncomfortable for 5 years. But I don't think a lot of people are willing to do that. That's just even the ones who are disciplined, having your kids hit you, not the cheek. Since we was talking about knocking the cheese is something most people don't want to have. And this is the things that you hear in the duplex, right? So now we got a property. It has a mother-in-law suite on it. Now what we want to do is we want to be able to maximize the mother-in-law suite. So I had 2 options with the mother-in-law suite. The first option I had with the mother-in-law suite is that I can rent it out. It's a 1-bedroom, right? I can rent it out. In Washington, I can get anywhere between $1,200 to $1,500 for this mother-in-law suite. Now that $1,200 to $1,500, as I said earlier, how big my house is no way that I can pay my full mortgage with $1,200 to $1,500. So I had to find a way to be able to make more money, if that makes sense. And so what we was looking at is, first thing we said is, hey, it's a college town. What if we can find people that come in that's in college to be able to rent for a semester? You can find certain people that come in for a semester and rent. So that was our first option. Then we was by a military base. So if you understand how military housing working, you might get there, they don't have housing for you, somebody looking for a house. The military paid them a stipend, of whatever amount for a month, 2, before they find that stipend. Some people get hotels, some people like Airbnb because they give the family the ability to do it. And then the second thing is, the third thing is like the long-term nurses, right? So I just want to show you June, July, August. No, what is this? June, July, August. I'm going to show you guys like the last 3 months of kind of July, August, and September of the Airbnb. So the Airbnb is not all the money because, say, for example, if I run Facebook ads and I get somebody to rent a short period of time, they might not book through it, but this kind of give you an idea of what we did. So I'm going to share my screen really quickly. I know a lot of people hate on the Airbnb game, but I think that it is, okay? So can y'all guys see my screen or no? I know I'm new to this thing. Let me see. Boom.
Yeah, we can see it. It will say it's expected, paid out, etc. Yep, we can see it.
All right, cool. So this right here is paid out. So in the month of July, what we was able to do is we was able to rent it out, and we made $3,267. This is after cleaning fees, after all those things. This is just 1 month using it as an Airbnb. Remember, if I was to rent this out, the most that I would be able to get is about $1,200, $1,500 at the most. So we're talking about doubling that effect. That kind of makes sense. Instead of getting $1,200 a month, we found a way to get $3,200 a month. That's like, what's that? Roughly $2,000 more that month. And then if you look at this booking, I don't know if y'all guys can see it. I only had 27 out of the 7 days booked. That kind of makes sense. And the great thing about
Well,
Airbnb,
you only had 27 out of the 7 days book.
no, I had 22 out of the 7 days. I'm sorry. So you see right there, it
22
says
out of
night.
the 31.
Let's go ahead. I'm trying to follow.
All right, so you see nights book 22. Can y'all see my stream? They can see it, right?
Yeah, we can see it.
All right, so what it says is 22 nights booked, 7 nights unbooked, a total of 29 nights. That makes sense?
Yes.
And then we have a cleaning fee of $180. So what this is saying in so many words is that on this month, about what would we say? That's about 75 to 80% of that one was booked. Okay. So let's go to a point where we say, hey, what happens if you booked a lot less days? So we'll go to the next month, what is August, right?
Where you lose your pick.
So August, we had two things going in August. We had a person that needed a week stay that booked through I think Facebook or something other stuff. So that's not going to show on the Airbnb report. But let's just say that person didn't book and we only had the people on the Airbnb. At the minimum, we talking about that we have 14 nights booked, 16 nights not booked. I still made over that $1,200 that I would have made. That $1,200 I would have made if I rented out per month. So this is why I'm not really for long-term rentals, because even if I only get half of the rental, I still can make the money back. That's not including the money I made the other time. That makes sense? But if you work a little hard in the Airbnb game, so this is this month, right? So if we go to September this month, so September, this is September, the month that we're currently in. It's saying that we have roughly about $5,751. What this is basically saying is that we already received $3,357. And then the next month, we go going into the next month, we're gonna get about another $2,300. If you just look at what that is saying, that's 3-4 months of rent that we would have got in the long-term game. Some people say that this is risky. If you look at September month, we done had 26 out of the 29 days booked. And if we actually go into October, if you look at the calendar for October, let me see if I can pull up the calendar. If you look at the calendar for October, you see that we got all of October booked. I don't know if it's gonna let me scroll down. All of the month book up into the 27th. So I still have to figure it out by going to the 27th and figure out how to end the rest of that month, if that makes sense. So I hope that kind of makes sense. Why I believe that the short-term renter is a lot better, because you have the opportunity, but you can't depend 100% on Airbnb. I'm running Airbnb. I'm running Facebook ads. I'm in Facebook groups. I'm reaching out to nurses. I'm reaching out to a whole bunch of different people in this levels to being able to make sure that it works.
Yeah.
I know that might have been complex.
It wasn't complex. I gotta start begging you for change now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I see what it is. But I would say the Airbnb model are very popular. You see there's a crackdown going down in New York, very big one. We know that's probably going to be something that's going to start to spread. I don't know how long it can last. I think they'll start to fight it, but they got to protect the hotels. They have to. That's big money there. So I think that battle will ensue. But I do like the short-term business model. I don't know if it's more security than a regular tenant there that's consistent. So I think that's based upon what best works for your business model, right? Or do you think you would just prioritize that over any model if you could?
I'm just saying, if I had a chance to buy either a hotel versus an Airbnb, I think the Airbnb is a better bet than the hotel model, right? But no, like our city changed it. We just got letters in the mail that says that we have to notify all of our attendants that this, that, and third. This is kind of how I look at it is. So first of all, I'm doing short term as long as I can, right? Say Washington State comes out and says you can't do Airbnb no more. You know what I'll do? I'll default to getting a long-term renter. Like I still have an option. So I'm gonna make as much money as I possibly can while I'm making the money. And if they tell me something different, I still can go to a long-term renter. That's an option. That's not off the table. See, the problem that a lot of people a problem that a lot of people do is that now this is an investment property because the government, when they look at it, for me, I stay on property, so it's different. This is my house, so I can't force me to say that it's an investment property, if that makes sense.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. So what's up, man? So like you got some more mother suites that we trying to get now? Like, you know what I mean? Just send me your wire account. We just go ahead and wire the money. Let's just get it done.
Yeah, I think I want to, but the problem is so this is what you gotta look for. So you want to try to find property outside of certain city limits, right? So Seattle's cracking down on it. We see New York's cracking down on it. Atlanta's going to crack down on it. But if you notice, military bases is not typically in major cities. They don't put a military base in Seattle.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah, so that's why it's a secret that a lot of people don't understand is finding a niche, finding a college town. Because, you know, the good thing about it is most college students don't want to stay on campus. They want to stay close enough to campus where they can have their own spot because they don't want Uncle Jeff telling them who they can have sex or what room they can have sex.
So that's why me and you was talking about a single family ain't necessarily bad. It depends on the business model because a lot of people, if they were to come in for a short term, they wouldn't want to stay in a 6-unit complex. They would prefer to be in an Airbnb.
Mm-hmm. And then the great thing about this one is I think all of our utility is attached. So it's attached to that one unit. So a great thing about that is that I'm not paying 2 different bills. It's a write-off. So that's a whole nother thing is that whole mother-in-law suite square footage is a write-off based on the trash, everything, different things like that, because it's considered a business space. It's a lot of benefits that you can have. And then worst come to worst, say, for example, I was in a situation, my daughter graduated from high school and she wanted her own space. I can also make it where my family still feel comfortable being on property, but also having their privacy. Like I'm a little different from Uncle Jeff. I'm not going to be mad at her. She's in the Airbnb and she's in the mother-in-law suite and she's doing what she want to do. She's an adult, and I can realize when a person become an adult, they're gonna do adult things.
They're not gonna want to be around you. You're gonna actually break your relationship with your kids when they're adults, and they keep treating them like they're not an adult. That's how a lot of those relationships deteriorate over time. A lot of that's why they say parents these days are weaker. And I'm not saying right or wrong, but I'm telling you now, a lot of these parents don't get calls from their kids.
Yeah, but that's why a lot of kids put themselves in a bad situation. They go out and get that apartment they can afford and mess up their credit. They go out and get these things is because they can't be themselves at home.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about a 15-year-old. I'm not talking about a 16-year-old. But when you talk about your 22-year-old daughter or your 25-year-old son, I think that's just a different method.
Keep on telling you you're still a child. You won't be doing no boom boom in this house. All right, let me get far away from you then, and I'll come see you every blue moon because you're gonna respect me being an adult one way or another, whether it's my absence or that's just how it's gonna work. I mean, but listen, old folks got their ways.
But Arnold was agreeing with Uncle. I want to hear what Arnold said because Arnold said that these kids supposed to be virgins until they get married because that's the new standard.
I don't know and say no craziness like that.
I ain't say that. I'm saying like as far as you be able to make the rules for the kids, like thinking like, oh, the kid can like tell you what they about to do when they in your house, like that's the part that like, I don't know, that's a bridge too far.
But Aaron, it's not your house anymore. If I'm paying, and I'm talking about by law, I get we can play these semantics, but if that person's paying rent, that is their space.
Nah, because the relationship is different. Like you couldn't tell like a man off the street that, but you can tell your kid a whole bunch of stuff that like that's
the point he is making. And so you telling me if a person that wasn't your child was paying adult bills and whatnot, that they could do what they want because they don't have no relationship to you. But I'm gonna pay these same bills, and you gonna tell me what to do?
Right, but it's not. You're not charging your kid market rate though. That's if you charge your kid market rate, you're a wild person, and you're a
Okay,
like,
but see, here's the thing: you think you can manipulate the system by saying I ain't gonna charge market rate, like.
Right. So because you had a show maybe a month or two ago about like mama like disappointing your mama. Can you tell your mama this? Can you tell your mama that? Right. Like when your mama come between you and your girl, it's like you can tell your parents whatever you want to tell your parents if you ain't worried about getting cut off. If you're not worried about their resources, what their opinion don't matter. People who be caring about their parents' opinion be worried about losing access to resources.
No, I think they care about their opinion based upon respect. That's it.
But and you're
Because
approaching
if your
this so
parent,
wrong.
the
You're
crack, the
approaching it
crackhead
wrong.
parent, the crackhead parent do not like, you know what I'm saying? You might respect your crackhead parent, but you're not worried about speaking truth to power to the crackhead parent.
Okay,
No, but
that's an extreme, but go ahead.
I get what you see. We're not talking to the kid that have no choice and they have to be there. That's not who I'm talking to. That person who ain't got no choice, who can't get out there and stand on their own feet. I get it. Set rules for them. But what about the kid who have the power to stand on their own feet? But it is best for that kid to be underneath your roof, helping you pay your mortgage off. Imagine you still got a mortgage. That $800 going directly to principal to help you get out of debt because you ain't do. Because most parents, especially Generation X, didn't do what they supposed to do. They still got mortgages and they're in their 40s, 50 years old. Now they helping you, and now you're going to get in your ego and say, oh, now I'm going to tell you how you supposed to do things just because I'm in my feelings about it. That's the part, Arnold, I don't agree with, is that no, if that person can do it, but it's better for them to be with you, some things you got to let go.
Yeah, and you're not even talking about like a duplex either. Like you're talking about like a ensuite almost like in the house. They got their own interest, but like it's still connected walls. I don't even know nobody that's savage that'll do that with their mama on the next side of the wall.
I think they
That's a
will.
whole different lifestyle.
I think it will. Like I think it's people who sleeping in their mama house now, and they in the room. Man, you talking about a door? I'm talking about it's a wall. Your mama room next door. You know when your mama go to work. You know why she
Yeah,
at
but
the store. You try to slip it in real quick. Like
it's a different respect level as an adult though, I guess. Like you know what I'm saying? Like you don't have no shame. Like if you're doing it, 25, 25, 28, 30, and you still smashing at your mama house, you know what I'm saying, with your mama in the house, that's crazy.
I would charge my kid. I would charge my kid rent. Absolutely. I think it's so many people do not really teach their kids on how to be adults. They like, I'm gonna do everything for you. I'm a baby for you. I heard this great idea. So what this one guy did, I think he's Indian. He charged his son rent, and then when his son got ready to move out, he gave him every dollar back. He kept the interest because the money made interest. He kept the interest, and he gave his his son, the money back for him to make a down payment on his house. But absolutely, nobody live rent free. I think they should pay something, even if it's a light bill, even if it's a whatever it is. I think that they definitely should pay.
No, I guess the part where like we be like people are like a whole kid's back is when they like see him almost as like a roommate and they try to like almost like lower their financial burden by like, oh, you grown now, you can pay these bills, and like that kid almost can't never leave. You know what I'm saying? Because
No,
to
you
leave,
should.
like
Listen, listen, just think how crazy this sound, right? At one point, I believe I was making more money than my mama, right? And so me paying my mama bills, it was crazy for me to think just because I'm a child, I don't supposed to pay no bills. Like it's them people, especially. I was getting it at 19. Like y'all see, I was at court. I was literally in court
but
at 19.
if you're generating revenue, sure, I could see to a certain degree, but a lot of them don't have jobs at that time. You know what I mean?
No, listen, I'm not saying have unrealistic expectation. If a person ain't got no job, they can't pay no rent. That's common sense. Like I'm not saying that somebody who ain't got no job, he in school, you be like, hey man, I don't know what you're gonna do, but you need to go rob some places because you got to pay this $500. I'm not making that statement, but if they making money, I think it's no problem with them doing that.
For me, I don't have any children, but it depends on my child. If I know my child's a nerd and she or she's saving up every penny and they're focused on so many other things, I probably won't even care about that. Like it's solely based upon the kid to me.
I need mine. I need you to come up
Nah,
off of it. I'm gonna invest it. I'm gonna invest it until you get out. I'm gonna give you the principal back, and I'm gonna keep the interest that I got. It's nothing wrong with that.
nah, my parents put us in a situation where like we didn't have to pay, but I was the kid that had the spending problem. My sister was like the nerd that didn't spend, but they treated us the same, and we learned the right lessons. And I got a chance to get on my feet. You know what I'm saying? Before I left, because if they was asking me to pay, you know what I'm saying, the way I guess I was spending money, you know what I'm saying, outside, I probably would have never caught up. Right? So like my sister moved out. You know what I'm saying? She bought a house. I moved out. I had a collection of old schools. You know what I'm saying? Living in an apartment.
So
Parked at my
did you
mama's
have
house.
see that's the point that I'm saying is I believe, and I can be completely wrong based off what you're telling me. The reason you had a spending problem is because they wasn't teaching you the disciplines of when you make money where things supposed to go. So I think a conversation said, hey, 20% of what you got coming in need to go towards your rent. You need to pay this. You need to pay that. You need to pay your own insurance, your light bill. Like, I don't think it's nothing wrong with teaching kids how to be adults.
Nah, so like I guess they never like did anything for us, right? So like we was on our own, so we had to learn the it was no helicopter parenting. So like any mistakes you made the mistake. You wasn't about to call moms to bail you out because you couldn't make that call, right? Because she was gonna let you fall on your face.
We
So
getting
like
off.
that's the lesson she taught. You know what I'm saying? So like I don't know, ain't nobody smashing at 30 with the mom in that room. I don't know. That's a different type of person. That's a pookie.
That's not spooky. That's
That's a
just because
pookie.
you have sex and your parents out. But we appreciate you coming up, brother. I really appreciate the dialogue.
No problem.
All right. Hey, so we don't reach the end of this show, Aaron. I think it was a good show. It was different. It was a different layer of what people see. I know most people don't talk about business stuff. We could have talked about this for like 10 hours, especially if we really dived into the business. But I think we did at least gave kind of like an understanding of good versus bad deals in business.
Yeah, I think it was a good fun conversation. I think next time we can dive into some deeper areas depending on where we take the conversation. But it's Eat a Man Takeover Thursday, so they always gonna find a way to make it happen. But yeah, dope show. I enjoy it. I mean, listen, it be getting a little crazy sometime up here, but it's cool.
Yeah, I had some stuff back saved in the deck, but I didn't think it was good to bring it out.
Nah, pull that out on the next show, next time.
I ain't want to start no drama, but I started to, pull it out like ad stage right, some of these contracts. There's some people that be think that they smart to do. So, but other than that, man, I look forward to doing these Thursday shows. And hey, something I always want to tell you, Aaron?